This meeting is being recorded.
Mr. Reeves, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Corey?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Thursday, May 25th, 2021, 4 p.m. I call to order the regular council meeting. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, this is the roll call for the regular meeting. The Honorable William Bill Edwards, Mayor.
Here.
The Honorable Catherine F. Rowell, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gomes, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable Naima Gilliard, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Present and accounted for.
The Honorable Councilmember Khalid, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Mark Baker, District 7.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
We now have our invocation and prayer by our pledge of allegiance, rather, by our chaplain.
Let us pray. Dear gracious God, we always have an attitude of gratitude for when we look around us, we have so much to be thankful for. We thank you for our mayor. We thank you for our council, the entire city, all our department heads, city manager, and all. God, we remember just a year ago, we were looking at the death of a man who was brutally killed before the nation. And now, God, we celebrate victories on top of victories, our own victories, oh God, that you've allowed us to go through as a city. We just ask you to continue to bless us and continue to bless us. We will forever give you the praise and the honor and the glory for all things in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplain. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Next item is adoption of the council agenda.
There's some items that I would like to move from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Me also.
It was me also. That was Mr.
Oh,
Councilman Khalid.
All right. Go ahead.
And they are 14, 2, and 3. Number 14, 2, and 3.
Uh-huh.
Number 15. Number 20. And number 19.
Okay. Mr. Khalid, what's your change?
Well, Councilwoman Gilliard read my mind, so thank you.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Second.
Y'all minds are alike. Okay, let's can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the May 25th agenda with changes. Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid. Councilmember Khalid.
Yes, I'm in the chat as well, so yes.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is approval of the city council meeting minutes.
Could we approve all
Mayor?
four at one time?
Yes, we can. Mayor, I motion that we approve approval city minutes for April 27, 2021, for May 11, 2021, work session minutes. The April 27th minutes are the regular meeting minutes. Also the zoning and public hearing minutes for May 11th, 2021, and also the city council special call meeting minutes, council retreat for April 30th through May 1st, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
I have
Mr. Mayor?
discussion.
Mr. Khalid has a discussion.
Go ahead, Mr. Adams.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was going to note to you and the council that I did send out 3 revisions offered by Councilmember Khalid, page 11 on the April 27th meeting, as well as page 36 on the council retreat. Councilmember Khalid did have some clarifications for those 3 items, and I would so note it for the record.
Were those items available to everybody?
Yes, they were.
Okay,
Yes,
let's
sir.
move forward then. Mr. Khalid, you were about to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. That was it.
Okay, y'all thinking alike. All right. Is there a second?
Yes, there's been a second.
Okay, properly moved and second. No further discussion. Let's vote, please.
So roll call vote for the council meeting minutes for the 4 dates given. Councilmember Rao,
Rao,
Councilmember Rao,
go ahead.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
and Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved 6-0.
Yes. Yes, for
Okay.
me as well.
Right, thank you, Councilmember. That item was approved unanimously.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is Roman numeral 7, public comments. Mr. Mayor and Council, we did receive 24 comments for today's meeting. We have 5 speakers that wish to enter into the record live comment. As I call your name, would you please unmute yourself as well as state your name and your address? First is Carl Jordan. Carl Jordan. Next, Ms. Mylette Puckett. Okay, I've been told that Ms. Puckett left the meeting as well. Next is Randolph Hickman.
I'm here.
Oh, Ms. Puckett?
It was muted. I'm sorry. Yes, this is Miss Puckett, and I am in the 5200 block of Schofield Road in South Fulton County.
Okay, please state your comment. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, I'd just like to address the speeding issue in the neighborhood on Schofield Road. We're having an extreme amount of speeding in the neighborhood, including the MARTA bus. I believe the regular drivers are using Schofield Road as a cut through, if you will. And when you enter on Schofield Road from off of Godby, you'll see a sign that says not a through street. The drivers are using it to avoid the traffic on Old National. We also have a lot of people that race through late at night and fire ammunition. And our block is not a well-lit block, and directly across the street is wooded, so therefore we can't really see who's doing what at night. It's just a lot of gunfire and speeding all through the neighborhood. And I'd like to request that speed bumps be placed on the block for safety, because we have a lot of elderly and disabled individuals. I have started a petition, and so far I have 22 signatures, and hopefully we can get the speeding issue resolved. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Randolph Hickman. Mr. Hickman, if you're on, please unmute yourself. Next speaker, Morgan Worrell. Next speaker, Paul Baldwin. Okay, Mayor and Council, that completes the live speakers. I will go through the written comments as many as I can within 28 minutes. First comment is from Daniel Jacobs, who lives on Draycott Court in Southwest in District 1. His comment is, I support using the speed cameras for pedestrian safety. I do not support militarization of police departments in any form. I also wish we had community policing. Next is Mrs. Sharana Hill, who lives on Avalon Square in District 5. Use the citation money to improve the area. Next is Jamias Render, who lives on Amethyst Court in District 6. As we continue to progress our city, it is imperative that we are forward-thinking about how we choose to collect our revenue and police our city. Initially, I was against the cameras that have caused citizens to get tickets for riding down streets that they have been driving down their whole life. Now that this system has been so profitable, we should allocate the funds collected by the cameras to aid the public safety budget, specifically for pedestrian safety, crosswalks, sidewalks, and lighting throughout the city. Next is Sylvia Gaddis, who lives on Ozella Place in District 1. Strongly opposed to building apartments off Enon Road. The traffic is already a nightmare. The quality of life for residents living in our area will not be enhanced by such projects. Businesses that benefit the residents would be welcome. Every tree doesn't need to be destroyed in South Fulton to add more buildings. Next is Mrs. Marshantri Shime Austin, who lives on Amberlin Square in District 4. Road repair on Derrick Road and support for camera and speed bumps throughout subdivisions. Next is Mrs. Jill Lindsay, who lives on Woodbend Court in District 7. There is a mowing agreement with GDOT on the consent agenda for Roosevelt Highway. Why don't we have a mowing agreement or consent for Old National with the city of South Fulton? We are in city limits as well. And we do not have service maintenance agreement with Jacobs for Old National Corridor as of 5/24/21. Thank you. Next is Mrs. Felicia Mays, who lives on Falling Water Point in District 5. I am all for road repairs. However, can the city take some of that money and pay for the no loitering signs throughout my Burdett Ridge subdivision? The HOA doesn't have the funds for it, and our subdivision needs it badly. Thank you, Mrs. Mays. Next is Patricia Harris, who lives on Estate Lake Court in District 7. She just states, I support this measure. Next is Kwame Wise, who lives on Long Meadow Lane in District 5. I would like to make it known that I believe 100% of the revenue being generated from the speed cameras should go to improving the community in the areas of crosswalks, speed bumps, and sidewalks. I believe this needs to be done, especially in certain areas of District 5 that have heavy pedestrian traffic, but is not illuminated enough at night for cars to see people walking on the edge of the street. I hope you will take my comments into consideration. Next is Mrs. Gloria Williams, who lives on Cole Lane in District 2. Z21001, AN21001, vote no again. I ask, how is annexing this property to the city of South Fulton from Fulton County beneficial for the taxpayers and constituents of the city of South Fulton? Zoning that is not adding to the value and preferred real estate development of the constituents of the city of South Fulton should not be undertaken. Next, I have Carl Jordan, who lives on Kimberly Mill Road in District 6. I would love to have a bike trail in the city of South Fulton. Has anyone brought bike trails to the council table yet? Next is Gloria Williams again with Z20008. Vote no again. This proposed development will not increase the property values for the homeowners in Walden Park, Les Jardins, Hampton Oaks, Camden Manor, and the custom-built homes on Butner, West Stubbs, and East Stubbs roads. This developer created a high-density development in Avondale that would definitely lower property values if the same or similar project were placed on Butner Road near West Stubbs. If our city is going to attract the quality of commercial development that most constituents in districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 want, the city is going to have to demand better quality, higher price point residential development in these 4 districts. These districts historically have had the most expensive homes in Southwest Atlanta and Fulton County, which is now the city of South Fulton. The beautiful neighborhoods of Canaan Walk, Register Hills, Le Grand, Regency Park, Wolf Creek, the gates at Stone Lake, Cascade Falls, Niskey Lake, Loch Lomond, and Guilford Forest are what attracted many people to the south side of Atlanta. The last 6 mayors of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young, Shirley Franklin, Bill Campbell, Kasim Reed, and Keisha Lance Bottoms all lived in Southwest Atlanta, along with countless high-profile celebrities and civic leaders like Hank Aaron, Freddie Cole, Marvin Arrington, Ludacris, and Martin Luther King III, and many more. It makes sense to protect and capitalize the value in these areas, making sure that new home developments attract more high-income constituents and protect the home values of existing constituents. Next, we have Mrs. Talib Briscoe, who lives on Shalon Court in District 1. I support Khalid Kamal's legislation to have 100% of funds from automated school zone traffic violations go towards pedestrian improvements. Next is Andre Legister, who lives in District 5. I stand behind and support Councilmember Khalid's proposal to require 100% of the speeding ticket revenue be used for pedestrian safety improvements in the city of South Fulton. Next is Nikki Taylor, District 6, who lives on Creole Lane. To whom it may concern, I support any legislation requiring that all money earned by the city of South Fulton from speed camera tickets be spent on pedestrian safety improvements like speed bumps and crosswalks. If the true intent for the cameras and citations is to curb speeding and protect citizens, such measures are reasonable, or a reasonable way to implement the accumulated funds. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Larry Riley, who lives in Atlanta. I support Councilmember Khalid's proposal to require 100% of this money to be spent on pedestrian safety improvements like speed bumps and crosswalks. The reason I support this is because it holds the city accountable to where the money is going instead of no accountability and the city being allowed to do whatever with the money. I don't live in the city of South Fulton, but I attend church in South Fulton and regularly shop at the Camp Creek Marketplace. Next is, these next 3 are all Gloria Williams. M21003, vote no as a new city with many needs, housing challenges. Is this the best development for this area? Where else has the builder constructed this product in Metro Atlanta? The constituents deserve to see and review the studies that the builder relied on to determine that this product should ideally be placed in this location. What will be the fair market value rental rate for each unit? What is the size of each unit? What is the target customer? What amenities will be affiliated with this project? What leasing management company will be responsible for maintaining this project? And what other projects do they handle? Regarding CV 21001, Ms. Williams states, vote no, the Sandtown overlay height limit and required number of parking islands were established to protect the best interests of the constituents. Why is the city council disregarding the rules in favor of the developer? If the developer cannot construct a project to fit the guidelines created to protect the interests of the constituents, then perhaps this is not the project for this area. Protect the constituents, not the developer. Z20009, vote no. The constituents deserve to see and investigate the studies. I think this is the similar one to before. And the last comment is from Charles Mitchell, who lives on West Stubb Road in District 4. Regarding case Z20009, as you may be aware, developers are in business to make money. They come to South Fulton in part because of the inexpensive land costs. I have been informed over many years that the developers have avoided South Fulton due to the noise from air traffic and the shallow rock in the area. Note that almost all large pad developments require rock blasting. However, we now find occasionally that the inexpensive land does not offset the potential of high development costs, often to the detriment of the community. Detriment of the quality of the development. Very seldom have we, Cliftondale, had a developer initially propose a project that enhances the community without community input. The developers would do as little as possible in order to save costs and will not provide community enhancement unless required. That said, in my opinion, the proposed rezoning Z20009 to rezone 17.5 acres fronting Butner Road to senior housing is inappropriate for the site. First, there are no service amenities convenient and safe for walking or golf cart within 1.5 miles. It would seem desirable for personal care shops to be located where the residents can easily and safely access those services. The developer is requesting a variance to allow more active adult residents. This is no longer senior housing and should not be allowed to receive the increase in density bonus. Further, the developer has stated no hardship that will warrant a variance to the city zoning code. Second, the developer has not updated the application to provide an updated survey and legal description of the property to be rezoned. Third, the developer has provided inaccurate information in the environmental site assessment by stating that there are no steep slopes that violate the steep slope ordinance. The site is the location of a granite quarry that was once used by the county to supply rock for county projects in the 1950s. The quarry has a rock face 60 feet in depth, located according to the Fulton County GIS topo at 630 feet from the Butner Road right away. This qualifies as a steep slope. The proposed layout shows the front door of the common building for the development to be 620 feet from the right of way. To step out of a back door with a 60-foot deep slope. So will the developer proceed the development of these residential units and request an exemption from the common building due to the unforeseen site conditions? Fourth, last week, the developer presented a revised site plan that was not presented to the city council in the rezoning package provided for the May 11th council meeting. This plan now includes a decel lane along Butner Road. It does not appear that the remainder of the site plan was adjusted to accommodate the shift in the required 50-foot buffer along Butner Road. When the plan is shifted as required for the buffer, development as shown will not fit between the buffer and the 60-foot drop-off into the quarry. Fifth, in order to achieve the required ADA sidewalk grades for senior housing, the site must be lowered approximately 20 feet near the middle of the site and the removal of approximately 80,000 cubic yards of rock. It is easily anticipated that a majority of this cut will require blasting. Are the neighbors in the area prepared for the disruption and potential damage to their homes? Six, one of the attendees at the virtual developer meeting held last week asked about the hazard of the 60-foot drop off into the quarry for the elderly residents. I was disappointed that the developer's attorney implied that the liability of the hazard would be transferred to the future HOA. In conclusion, it is my opinion that this site is not appropriate for one of our first senior housing developments and recommend denial of the zoning. Sincerely, Charles Mitchell. That completes the public comment for today.
Okay, we want to thank everybody for their comments. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is public hearings. Request council approval of alcohol license for General Wholesale Company doing business as General Wholesale Company at lot number 14F0058 LL 026-2, 14F0058-001-05-3, and 14F0059-LL-017-0, and 14F0059-LL-018-8. This is located at Bakers Ferry Road in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is a alcohol license application. Police.
Okay, staff.
Yes. How's everyone doing this afternoon?
Good.
So we have general wholesalers are looking to relocate their headquarters to the city of South Fulton. And general wholesale distributors right now are one of 5 wholesale distributors in the state of Georgia, and they're looking to bring their headquarters to our city. We were looking to present their application before the body for provisional approval, providing that they make certain build outs within their facility that they're looking to build in the city of South Fulton. So we would ask that the body consider their alcohol application at this time.
Okay, I'll open public hearing. Is the petitioner here? Anyone for the petitioner? All right, anyone against this petition?
Mr. Mayor, we did not receive any comments in opposition or in support of the application.
Okay, I'll close public hearing. I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the provisional license for General Wholesale Company, corporate relocation.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes, welcome to the city of South Fulton.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Thank you. That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item are rezoning, variance, and modification cases. Item 6, Z21-001. Council to consider a rezoning from Fulton County MIX to Fulton MIX for the purpose of completing AN 21-001 annexation request, and it's located in District 1.
I'll entertain a motion.
6, 7, 8.
I move that we approve Z21-001.
A second. Is
Second.
that properly moved and second? Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard.
All right, that passes.
That's approved 6-0. Next is AN 21-001. Council to consider an annexation of 0 Wakehurst Drive and 0 Riverside Drive. It's located in District 1.
I'll entertain a motion.
This aligns with Z21. It's the same property. I move that we approve AN 21-001 to consider annexation of 0 Waycross Drive and 0 Riverside Drive. And so move.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved 6-0.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 8, Z20-008. Council to consider a rezoning from AG1 to CUP for property located at 7195 Burtner Road, 0 West Stubbs Road, and 3315 West Stubbs Road. This is located in District 2.
I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mayor and the clerk, we had a meeting with the community last week, and there were some additional items that I'm still not comfortable with. We are asking for deference for 60 days for all 3 items.
All 3, which is in District 2, these next 3?
Yes, the next 3 in District 2.
Okay, so your motion is to defer?
I'd like to make a motion to defer item C B 20-001, item Z 20-009, and then item Z 20-008.
Is there a second?
So move.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So in regarding to these zonings, I have been seeing a lot of misinformation. I have been seeing a lot of false accusations. And I just would like to encourage residents, because many have reached out to me regarding these zonings, that first of all, decisions are made based on whatever the allowable land use is, which is our zoning ordinance, and also what is in our comprehensive development plan, which is the future land use. That's decisions are made based on those. I would encourage you to get with the developer as the community, determine who's going to be the community leader, and work with the developer and your council person to come to a meeting of the minds to simply say no. I would say that decisions have to be made based on our zoning ordinance. Now, not all of us may agree with the zoning ordinance, and I am very disappointed with where we are as a city in a relationship with the community as it relates to our land development. I am hopeful that it will improve with our city manager working with staff to do so, but the community has the power to work with developers.
Okay.
They have. They're timing my comments, Mayor.
I understand.
Okay.
Keep
The community has the power to work with developers. So please, this is political season. Everybody has an agenda. Be careful of being misled and misinformed, and work with the developers, work with your council person. And if you have any questions regarding our zoning ordinance, please reach out to our staff. Thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
We have to vote.
We
Mayor.
had to carry the vote.
I'm sorry. All right.
So this
Any further discussion? Hearing none, vote please.
Okay. So motion by Councilmember Gumbs, second by Councilmember Willis to defer for 60 days items Z 20-008, Z 20-009, and CV 20-001. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Those items are deferred for 60 days.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 11, M21-003. Council to consider a modification at 0 Boat Rock Road rear for the purpose of constructing senior apartments and to modify the conceptual site plan. This is located in District 1.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve M21-003
Is there a second?
and the concurrent variance for CV 21-001.
So, Mr. Clerk, you announced those both at one time.
Okay. Item 12 is CV 21-001. Council to consider concurrent variances to case M21-003 to build beyond the Sandtown overlay height limit to allow for a retention pond in an undisturbed buffer and to reduce the number of parking islands.
Can I allow the staff to, because there was a change made on this, we're not reducing the parking islands. Is that correct?
Is
We
this
have a
something?
modification.
Yes, ma'am, and Miss Councilmember. We recommended denial on the request for a variance for the parking islands. We
Okay,
did
I just wanted to
also,
clarify.
Excuse me, is that a new request, Ms. Rao, that's added to this?
I think it came after the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Does
And
this,
so I
does,
just,
does your motion reflect that?
okay, I amend my motion to reflect that we would strike reducing the number of parking islands on CV 21-001.
There a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote, please.
It's a roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
and Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-0.
Okay, let's go
Those
on.
items, 11 and 12.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is council comments.
Okay, let's begin with Ms. Rao in 1.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to encourage everyone to participate in the Trail Build Day that we're doing on June 5th with the Southeast Trust for Parks and Land. We have 50 volunteer spaces, which will allow for outdoor social distancing. We will be building trails in the 86-acre park that will be developed behind the Publix at Sandtown Crossing. We're going to have a great time, and although registration is going well, we still welcome some more volunteers. So come out, and it's a family-friendly event that allows children 12 and above to participate.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rao. Ms. Gums?
Actually, I don't have, my comments are very minimal. I do ask and encourage residents to continue to leverage their voices and participate in the zoning. And then I also sent out my newsletter. There are a lot of events and activities that are happening throughout the city and the district, and I hope that they will participate.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I want to say congratulations to all of the 2021 high school graduates this year. We had an amazing graduation event at Wood Creek Amphitheater of our 5 high schools, and we look forward to enhancing that experience. I want to thank everyone who participated in the Feeding the City event at Wilkerson Mill. We gave out all the food. So thank you to all of the volunteer organizations, Public Safety and Park and Recreation. I also want to thank Commissioner Arrington for partnering with me to host our first annual job team fair last weekend. Not last weekend, the weekend before. It was an amazing event. We had over 300 teens in attendance, over 200 applications, and over 69 teens landed jobs on the spot. And it was such a successful event. We look forward to doing a fall experience for teen jobs. And thank you to all the employers who came out and offered jobs to our teens. And for the employers who called me and weren't able to get put in the mix this time, we will make sure that we reach out to you for our fall experience and make sure you're included in that teen job fair. Again, be on the lookout for our next Feeding the City event. We're having one on Juneteenth at Welcome All Park, and they will be heavily advertised via the city, my newsletter, southfultondistrict3.com. And if you have any questions or in need of food, please don't hesitate to reach out to my office. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilwoman Gilliard.
Last week, I published a newsletter, and in that newsletter, I wanted to make sure that I highlighted activities of schools in the area. Our first STEM school is really moving along excellently, and the students are really doing excellent projects. And I was really sort of encouraged to hear that Fulton County Schools is moving towards seeing whether or not the model of 1st to 8th and 9th to 12th will work. And Evelyn West is one of the schools that's going to be working on that model. Moving on to Langston Hughes, where we have a great debater who's going to Harvard. and students that are doing so many wonderful and great things, as well as even Chattahoochee Hills Charter School, whose student body is over 50% of the students in South Fulton. And one of their teachers received 2 awards, one a national award, and she is on today's agenda under the proclamation. And so the schools are really, really doing great. In addition to Bear Creek and Arlington, I didn't get their information until after the newsletter was published. Also in the newsletter was T-SPLOS encouraging people to attend the T-SPLOS meeting as well as the comp plan meeting, and then a little bit about development that is coming up in District 4. So keep being involved and letting your voices be heard.
Thank you. Gilliard. Where is he? Mr. Reed.
Yes, good day. How was everybody? Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I want to say congratulations to all of the graduates, the 2021 graduates. Appreciate your dedication. Also, too, to the community, District 5, participate in the comp and zoning meetings. This is where your voice is heard on what the future is to come. And also, too, for South Fulton, participate in the South Fulton Goodwill. They have a career center and various opportunities and certification programs through that center. And as it comes to Camelot, stay tuned tomorrow for a press conference so you will hear from one united voice from all of your elected officials and for the stakeholders involved. Thank you.
Okay. We're on next. Is that Mr. Khalid? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
First, let me say congratulations to the graduates, but a special shout out to our park staff. I was so excited about us hosting these graduations. I attended all 6 this weekend, and our parks department flawlessly pulled off 6 graduations in 3 days, each with about 2,000 people each. And I think it really goes to show what our parks department and what all our departments can do when we give them the support and funding and staffing that they need. Also want to shout out our courts. You may not know, but we've been doing a radical overhaul of our courts and administration, led by LaDon Jones, our new interim courts administrator. And you all have done an amazing job making all this. I do want to let people know that I am doing a follow-up to our first comp plan town hall on the 18th. We are going to have leaders. This one is going to be a bit more educational and talk about what goes into writing a comp plan. We will have leaders from Fulton County, leaders in education and healthcare and in housing equity to talk about all of those issues. And last but not least, I am so happy to share this with you now.
Saturday, June 19th, June 19th, is Juneteenth, Juneteenth in the city of South Fulton, the blackest city in the district. Juneteenth is America's oldest national celebration of the end of slavery. Before the when America was held against the will, torture, race, and forced to work as slaves in every one of America's spaces for original politics. North and South. Even after it was 4 years civil war, when President Abraham Lincoln signed a proclamation ending slavery in 1863, many states would hail the news of the Emancipation Proclamation. But on June 19th, 1865, the last person held in slavery, the last one, finally received the good news. Juneteenth isn't just a celebration of the end of slavery. It is a reminder that none of us are free. And for all of us are free. Please join us here in South Fulton in celebrating this most American of holidays. Find a full schedule of events at cityofsouthfulton.ga.org.
Okay. Okay, can you shut that off? Time is up. Who's controlling? Oh, there you go. All right. I just like to say a couple of things, not much. It's
Mr.
always,
Mayor,
yes.
forgot about Mr. Baker.
Oh, Mr. Baker, I'm sorry. Where are you? Mr. Baker, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging me. Thank you, Corey, for helping him remember me.
I remember.
No, I'm joking. Thank you guys so much. It's a privilege to actually speak on some of the things that's been happening. And I'll just jump right in. Last Friday, we had an amazing, one of the most inspiring, amazing events on Old National in Councilman Mark Baker's Common Unity series. We had the opportunity to feed and actually share with the volunteers to help so many people, feeding families, Georgia, all the volunteers, higher learning community from Langston Hughes, Commissioner Khadijah Rahman. We gave out 50,000 pounds of food on Old National. 50,000 pounds of food. It's amazing what it looks like to see that much food given out. Special thanks to Ace Hardware, South Fulton, the mental health experts that came to share, keeping in mind that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And our partners came out and they shared, and we also had a lot of businesses, small Black businesses that were amplified on that day. LA Pink Community Boutique, the Street Groomers were all there. And we heard from our brother Reza Islam, who came to share with our community important details regarding the pandemic, vaccinations, and other issues. Special shout out to my legislative specialist, Yusuf Otway, as well as Keosha Bell for help putting this thing together. And please stay tapped in for the Common Unity series and events that I'm trying to have. If anybody wants to volunteer, sponsor, please reach out to me, Councilman Mark on IG, and stay tapped in. June 18th is the next one. And we have a couple great people lined up, so stay tuned. I'm not going to announce right now because we haven't locked them all the way in yet. And lastly, congratulations to all of the graduates, as everyone has said, the high school graduates, college grads, master students, and doctoral program students as well, including myself. Last Saturday, I received my doctoral degree in humanities, African American studies from the great Clark Atlanta University. So I'm pleased to announce that I am now officially Dr. Baker. And thank you guys for your support and your well wishes for that accomplishment as well. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Baker, Dr. Baker. Congratulations on your achievement, and you're officially Dr. Baker, and you will remain officially Dr. Baker. I just want to say just a couple of things. As I listen to everybody, everybody's doing great things in their district and doing great things for the city of South Fulton. Don't ruin it. Keep telling people the great things that we're doing. Some of us get out here and we get before people and we downplay a lot of things that we're doing that are positive. It is our job to continue to put out the positive things like Ms. Gilliard was talking about with our schools. It's very, very important, Mr. Baker, about how many people he's feeding. And others of you who are doing a tremendous job, Miss Mayor Pro Tem, who feeds every week, look like. And we just got to keep putting the right word out there so people can learn to love their city, respect our city. Are we going to always agree with everything? We surely are not. But when you look past the agreement to all the great things that we have done, I think it makes a difference. So I want to just add that to what all you all have done and what all you all have said. And we're just a great city, and we want to continue to let people know that that's who we are. Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. Next item is consent agenda items. We have item 13, item 14, number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Then we have item 16, item 17, and item 18, and then item 21, 22, and 23 on the consent agenda.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
Say, excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
do you mind, please, Mr. Adams, will you say that again, please?
Yes, we have on the consent agenda, taking away those items that were removed earlier. You have item 13, you have item 14. Under item 14, you have number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Didn't you
Then
take
you
that
have-
off, Ms. Hold on.
Wait. I took
Yeah, y'all
off,
took that off.
I took off 2 and 3.
Yeah, like I said, item 14, there's 8
Oh, I
items.
got you. I got you.
On item 14, there's 8 items.
Yes.
The only items that are on the consent agenda now are number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
You're right.
Councilmember Gilliard took off items 2 and 3.
Okay.
Okay, the
Mike.
next item is item 16, item 17, item 18, item 21, item 22, and item 23.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the items removed.
Second.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis, Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 24, previous agenda items. This is a second reading and request council approval of an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020 final budget.
I'll entertain a motion.
I moved, 1 second, y'all haven't removed so much off of the darn on agenda. I move that we approve the request for approval authorizing the city manager to execute. We're on item 15, correct?
No, we're on item 24.
24.
Okay. I move that we approve the city manager to approve an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020 final budget for finance.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
I have discussion. Can you not hear me? I've been saying I have.
No, sir, I cannot hear you, nor do I see your name on the queue.
Okay, I do have discussion.
Okay. Since I didn't hear you, we'll allow the discussion.
I do have 2 questions. The first is, what is our current balance in the speed camera fund? We heard a lot of questions about that or comments about that today. I just wanted to know what our current balance was.
Is there anyone prepared to give that?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Rachel. I was just about to introduce Rachel Bembry is our interim finance director. Can you give us the balance, please, Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. I will obtain that balance and provide it directly to mayor and council and management at my earliest convenience.
Okay, and then I have another balance question. How much money have we raised for Juneteenth? Those events start in 21 days.
Again, I will obtain that information and provide follow-up communication to mayor and council.
Is there a ballpark amount? Is Mr. Phillips available to give us any answer?
Point of order, Mayor.
I think that, let me handle it. I think that it's unfair to ask her for a ballpark amount. We're interested in the facts of what you're asking. I would ask that you allow her to give you those facts.
Well, the problem, Mr. Mayor, is that by the time we have a next meeting, Juneteenth will be. So If we don't have the answer to that, I know I've raised a few $1,000, but if we don't have the answer to that, if Mr. Phillips is not available, I'm going to make a substitute motion to reconsider and repeal Resolution 2020-33, which defunded 8 months ago.
Point of order, Mayor.
Hold on, you hold it. I acknowledge your point of order when I get a minute. Let him speak.
If we defunded Juneteenth 8 months ago, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 8 months have passed. The event is 21 days, and we don't know how much money we have for a week long. If we have this incredible fund balance that we were told that we had, and we're in great financial standing, I think that we can afford to fund this holiday. If we've raised the money over these 8 months, then it'll be a moot point. If we have not raised the money, we are not going to spend $150,000 in 21 days. So that is my motion to, a substitute motion is to consider and repeal Resolution 2020-33.
Mayor, the point of
Yes, Miss Willis, go ahead.
Second, if I'm on the prevailing side.
Robert Rules allows point of order to interrupt the speaker for one. Second,
when the chair acknowledges. Yes.
No, that's not what Robert Rules says.
Okay, well, go ahead. I don't want to bring the parliamentarian in again, but go ahead.
Okay. Point of order. This budget amendment has nothing to do with Juneteenth at all. So why we should not be discussing Juneteenth or amending anything regarding Juneteenth? This has nothing to do with Juneteenth. It's not germane to this budget amendment.
Don't we have something coming up pretty late about Juneteenth? Mr. Clerk?
Not on this agenda, no, sir.
Okay, so.
Excuse me.
I think that he's right. He's right. Ms. Gilliard, I did hear from you, and then we're gonna move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, because first of all, my Novus is not working, and I don't know why. But so that's why you hear me trying to get in. I understand what Councilman Khalid is trying to get at. He might want to have that discussion when we get to the 2021 budget. I'm almost sure there's something about it on the agenda. What we're on right now is 2020, where entries have been made to balance 2020 out, and it relates to the audit. I'm almost sure that isn't that what's going on, Ms. Jones? Isn't that what number 20?
Go ahead, let Rachel answer that. Rachel, go ahead.
If I may, you're absolutely correct. Item number 24 is somewhat of a cleanup item associated with the fiscal year 2020 audit. It is just a final adjustment of the fiscal year 2020 audit, which actually ended 9/30/2020. So we will have a first read of the fiscal year 21 budget amendment later in the agenda. That may be a different appropriate time to have this discussion.
Okay.
So, Ms. Khalid, I don't think that your substitute motion is germane to what we're talking about.
Yeah, it will be when we move to 2021. Then he can bring it up.
Well, if I could just respond briefly, I will respect the chair's decision. The reason that I brought it up is because the resolution was passed during fiscal year 2020. So
I see.
The resolution was passed in 2020.
I see.
About it in 20. I don't care where we talk about it, just as long as we talk about it before we leave this meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's move this motion on. And we had a motion on the floor, right?
Yeah, we were in the middle of a vote. We were awaiting Councilmember Khalid's vote on the item.
Mr. Khalid.
Well, I'm going to abstain. I'm going to ask that.
Okay. And why? Say it again.
Because we defunded Juneteenth in this particular budget that we're talking about.
Okay. All right.
And then lastly, Councilmember Baker.
Mr. Baker.
Yes, aye.
That item is approved, 6-0.
Okay,
One
next
abstention.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 25, second reading and request council approval of an ordinance regulating resident-initiated parking zones, sponsored by Councilmember Khalid.
Mr. Khalid, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve this ordinance. I do just want to explain that this ordinance changes no laws, except that it does now make it illegal to park on streets that are less than 21 feet wide. That is a recommendation that came from our Fire Marshal, Donna Dingler. Whether or not we pass it, if you park on the street that's less than 21 feet wide and a fire truck needs to get down the street, they can just tow your car. But for the record, we should note that streets that are less than 21 feet wide, if anyone parks on either side of that street, it makes it hard for our emergency vehicles to get through. So this that is the actual only law change that this ordinance does. The other thing that the ordinance does is basically create a process so that if residents want to create no parking zones in their community for any reason, they now have a process and can be assured that the city will work with them in creating no parking zones that are both legal and safe.
I'm still awaiting your motion to approve. Well, did you make a motion, Mr. Khalid? I can't hear you. Can y'all hear him?
Oh.
Mr. Khalid, we can't hear you.
My motion is to approve the ordinance. It's in the chat.
We checked you. Okay, there's a second. Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is request council approval of a resolution establishing a 180-day moratorium on the acceptance of any rezoning applications, site plans, construction permit applications related to new developments and or construction of single-family homes intended for residential rental purposes. This is sponsored by Mayor Edwards and Councilmember Gums.
I'll entertain a motion, Ms. Gums, if you'd like.
Just, I want to make sure that one thing is clear, and Attorney Hyman, if you can ensure that this information is added in there. This will also include townhomes per the request of Councilwoman Gilliard.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was correct, Councilwoman Gums.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Mr.
So
Mayor.
I'd like to,
Just
I'm
one.
sorry.
She still has the floor.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
And second, Mr. Baker, I think you had a comment.
Yes, I wanted to request that District 7 be excluded from the moratorium. And I was going to second with that provision.
The District 7 be excluded. That
Yes,
would
sir.
happen in the way of a substitute motion. Am I right, Mr. Hyman?
Mayor.
I'm asking Mr. Hyman a question. I'll get with you. I'll see Ms. Willis. I got you.
Okay, I'm in the queue.
Yeah. Mr. Hyman?
That's, yes, that would be more appropriate.
Yes.
Well, I would like to make a substitute motion to approve this ordinance just with the exclusion of District 7.
Is there a second?
Mayor, I have a question
Hold
around.
on, let me give him a second. I got you. Is there- Ms. Clean, you second? Okay, Ms. Willis, go ahead.
So I would like for the record, the reason I think you're getting hesitation is because we were advised by the previous zoning attorney that we could not exclude specific districts for moratoriums. If we did a moratorium, it had to be for a specific amount of time, it had to be for a reason, and it had to be for the entire city. Well, remember, we did this once before, tried to put moratoriums based on districts, and the zoning attorney from Denmark and Fincher advised several of us on council that advice was wrong, and we could not do that. So I just want to hear from Mr. Hyman. Is this because this contradicts what we're doing now, contradicts what we were told.
Councilman Willis, I would like the opportunity to research a little bit further, but I do know that as it relates to the zoning procedures law, that it's applicable if it's based in your ordinance or overlays or something to that effect, but not in reference to a political district.
Okay.
And so, and Mayor, before we move on, is there any way the city manager could allow the CDRA director to expound on that? Because she was very involved in those conversations.
Yeah. She can't, but I can. That's Miss Reed.
Yes, I was asking the city manager because that's her employee. That's the only reason
Miss
I
Reed,
posed
go
that
ahead.
question.
Answer that question.
That is correct.
What is correct?
In regard to what Councilwoman Willis is saying, that it should not be separated by council district.
That's in our ordinance.
No, we were advised legally that that was not the proper way of handling it.
So, okay, we have the substitute motion on the floor. We have a second and a first. Mr. Clerk, vote on that first, please.
Okay, it's a substitute motion, motion by Councilmember Baker, second by Councilmember Khalid. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
This is on the substitute, correct?
Right.
That's correct.
Nay.
Councilmember Gomes.
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Nay.
Councilmember Gilliard.
No.
What?
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
But I have a question, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious. Our attorney just
Point of
told
order,
us.
is this correct?
Okay,
Was that
let me
a
hold it,
question?
Ms. Baker. Oh, let me stop right here. Ms. Willis, I'm gonna run this meeting now. If you got something, get in the queue.
Point of order.
I'll acknowledge you, and I will acknowledge your point of order once I hear what someone has to say. All right, let me carry this vote through. What was the vote, Mr. Clerk?
That motion failed. 3 yeas, 4 nays.
Okay, I'll acknowledge you, Mr. Baker, then I'll acknowledge Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. The motion has carried. Go ahead.
Receive. Thank you for acknowledging me, and I'm mobile and I can't get into that. I was just curious that whatever happened, I think our attorney opined one way, and then we heard from someone who's not an attorney, and that's what we voted on. I just want to know for the record, because District 7 has never been in any moratorium through the inception of our city.
Okay.
I have always remained development friendly. I've always been able to discuss prior to. I know my area has industry, and I do support all of my colleagues, and I always have. And I'm just at a loss because of where my district is as to why we would stop commerce, knowing that 80% of our tax revenue comes from the taxes from our constituents. Who would want to stop that? And I just want to know, did our attorney provide an answer and we just went against it, or did I miss something?
Point of order.
I guess that's true.
Excuse me, everybody. Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem, your point of order.
Robert Rules 23-1 -21 point of order states, I do have the right to interrupt the speaker my point of order is we have 2 votes on the floor. The proper time to have discussion is during discussion. We're supposed to be simply voting now. We just voted on the substitute motion. It failed. So we're supposed to go right into the second vote, which was the first vote, the first motion that was on the floor. And you're allowing discussion when we're not supposed to have discussion, when we're supposed to be voting. That's in Robert as well.
The chair is responsible for the meeting. So if you have something against that, then I'll acknowledge it. But right now, I'm going on to the first one.
Yeah, that was my point of order, Mayor. You asked me to state it.
Okay, your point of order is well taken. All right.
Can I make a comment?
No, we're going to the next. We're going to the first, the motion. Would you restate the motion, Mr. Adams?
Yes, the first motion was a motion for approval. It was motion by Councilmember Gumbs, second by Councilmember Rao.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Abstain.
What reason?
I just stated it, and you acknowledged it already, sir. I believe that we just acted against our attorney's advice based off what our old attorney advised us, and we're still going to set a moratorium into place for 180 days in an area that's development friendly when we say that we are a development friendly city, and we already have so much contention when it comes to people bringing business to our city. We're sitting here saying no in the area where we welcome certain type of development that we have disdain for near residential areas.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something, please?
Very quickly,
I think it's important.
and we're going on to the next item.
You can make a motion to reconsider.
I think it's important for me to say this. Mr. Baker, I had that experience when initially when I was trying to do a separate ordinance for only my district. And I was told by the old attorney and I was told by the new attorney that I could not do that. And so I had to take that off the table. So that was why I did what I just did, because I had that experience. And so trying to pull it out and do it alone, and I'm almost sure that Attorney Hyman will agree with that, because he really told me, I didn't want to accept it, but he really told me that, and so did the prior attorney.
Point of order.
What's your point of order, Ms. Willis?
These discussions are out of order, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for your point of order. Next item, please.
Next item is item 27. Request council approval of a resolution setting forth a 90-day zoning and development moratorium pertaining to the overlays of Cedar Grove and Cedar Grove Agriculture. This is sponsored by council members Gilliard and Khalid.
I'll accept the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that this resolution be approved for the Cedar Grove and Cedar Grove overlays.
Second.
Probably move to second discussion. Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 28. Request council approval of a resolution adopting a schedule of fees and authorizing the city attorney to establish a protocol for the employment and management of outside counsel. Sponsored by Councilmember Rao.
This particular resolution, I worked with the city attorney to come up with a fee schedule. As you know, from time to time, the council has to deal with outside counsel. We wanted to make sure that those fees were in line with the current market, and that's what this resolution seeks to do with this schedule of fees.
Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution adopting a schedule of fees, authorizing the city attorney to establish a protocol for the employment and management of outside counsel.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have discussion.
Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
Well, the fees, I know sometimes, with a city of this size, and we have sometimes unforeseen legal circumstances, people sue government. That's just the way it is. People have, deep pockets and they sue for whatever frivolous reason they want to. People have a right to sue. I just want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves as a city in a box to not be able to afford specialized counsel whenever, and I don't have no specific example, but for example, say we have issues with annexations or illegal annexations, and this fee schedule that you have put us in is pretty much in a box, put us in a box to not allow the city to afford the best competent attorney that we may need to defend the city. That's all I'm worried about. Attorney Hyman, can you speak to that?
Yes, Councilman Willis. The fees that are mentioned in there take into account that a particular private sector lawyer is dealing with a governmental entity, and that he's not billing for Coca-Cola or someone like that, not to mention name, or bill a particular industry at a higher fee, but to anticipate giving the government a government discount. The fee schedule that is illustrative in the resolution, you can vote to change the number. Those were just numbers that I thought were reasonable. But if, for example, I think one says 400, if you want to make that 450, 475, that's at the council's pleasure.
Okay, so you're saying that if we do get into a circumstance where we need to approve more, we can always come back and make a council vote. These are just setting a pretty standard, putting something standard in place. Is that
yes, as a body? Yes,
Attorney
as a body, you can vote to amend that, suspend that, or go above that under special circumstances. This just gives you a framework to where if anybody's doing business or seeks to do business with the city, they have an idea as to the rate of fees that we would charge or accept them charging us.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willis. Mr. Khalid?
I actually agree with Councilwoman Willis. We agree sometimes. I do think I talked to some attorneys. I mean, you are the attorney of record, but I do know that our previous attorney was charging $180 an hour. So $300 an hour for me seems a little high. And I know that if we ever bid out work, if we publish 300, that's what every bid is going to come in as. And so I wonder if we could, perhaps, if Councilwoman or Dr. Rao would be open to it, if we could actually lower the amount 200 and actually just put that language in that says exactly what Councilwoman Willis was saying, that like with the exception that certain specialized services that require exceeding said amount are subject to prior approval by a majority.
Councilman Khalid, to address your question, the resolution does contemplate that. In there, it speaks to specialized or complex matters, they would bill at the higher rate. In simple matters, conflict matters like that, they would bill at the lower rate.
Okay.
Ms. Willis?
No, I was just saying I'm comfortable with the ordinance as is. I just needed clarification, and Attorney Hyman provided that clarification.
Okay. Let us vote, please.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Rao, seconded by Councilmember Reeves to approve. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-1.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 29. Request council approval of a resolution by the city of South Fulton encouraging the General Assembly of the state of Georgia to adopt the same or similar policing guidelines and principles that are outlined in the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act of 2021. This is sponsored by Councilmember Baker.
Mr. Baker.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this ordinance. We heard from our, thank you for a second. I just wanted to finish the statement about today. I didn't even know this. First, Mr. Mayor, thank you for putting it on. I didn't know that today was actually the anniversary of the death of George Floyd. And so many municipalities are accepting this as far as the state level. And I think it would be only right that we encourage our state as well.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. I second.
Second.
Okay.
Properly moved.
The
Second.
resolution.
Yes. I have a question. Chief? Chief,
Yes, Mayor.
does this resolution allow us to take a stand on the issue of qualified immunity?
I don't believe that is part of it. And also, it's my understanding this is just a situation to urge the state legislators to adopt it. But I don't remember qualified immunity being part of that bill. I could be wrong.
Well, the part of the New York bill that they're talking about pursuant to is order number 203, which removed the clerical qualified immunity from police departments located in the state of New York. I don't know if we're asking the state government to do the same thing with us, and I don't want to bring your opinion on qualified immunity at this stage.
Well, I will say this, taking away qualified immunity would be particularly problematic for the police department.
Okay, I agree with you. We're just asking them, and we'll see how it comes out in the state. Any further questions? Hearing none, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker. That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item, item 30, request council approval of a resolution recognizing the injustice committed against the Exonerated Five, creating a code of conduct within the city to be known as the Exonerated Five Youth Interrogation Policy. This is sponsored by Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you. Again, thank you for putting this on as well. This is a piece of legislation. Of course, we all are familiar with the movie from Ava DuVernay produced. I think it was entitled When They See Us, where the Central Park Five were wrongly convicted. And now they're known as the Exonerated Five, and two of which live in our area. One, Dr. Yusuf Salam, has worked with me in reference to this ordinance, and we have some upcoming meetings as well with Chief. I spoke with Chief about this piece of legislation, and it's something that needs to be done, and we hope that it becomes infectious. I don't think it's much of a change to what we already have, according to our Chief, because we adopt the practice, but those individuals were interrogated, and because there were only parts of the film used, they were convicted and had their lives destroyed. And I just want to make sure that not just ourselves, that other municipalities catch on to stuff like this, so we can right some of the wrongs. And I think the only thing that since speaking with Chief that we wanted to try to include in this ordinance, this resolution, was that when we do build out a police headquarters, that we have interrogation room that films.
Okay.
And I would appreciate it if that's something that we could add to it.
So give me your motion.
So I make a motion to approve as with the amendment that I just made of including an interrogation room in our new upcoming police headquarters.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Anyone second?
Second.
Second.
It's probably moved to second. I have one thing, Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Did you
Yes, Ms. Mayor.
Did you write this resolution?
I reviewed the resolution process.
You write the resolution?
I did not.
Who wrote it?
That would be Ms.
Walker.
Okay.
Well,
all right. That's all I want to know. That's all.
No, that's not exactly
that may be
true.
correct then. Okay. I'll let Councilman Baker speak on his legislation.
Yeah, this is my legislation. I conferred with Attorney Walker prior to, and since then we worked in concert with Attorney Hyman. This was something that was festering prior to, and Attorney Hyman added his opinions as well.
All right.
But this is my legislation. When I write legislation, I work with attorneys. But I mean, to make sure that the verbiage is correct. But I work with Dr. Yusuf Salam with this as well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Baker. I got Ms. Willis.
So I would like to ask the question. This is the integration rooms I do agree with, but right now we don't have integration rooms. So is this going to be in effect once this council moves forward with the new police precinct? We desperately need to do that because our officers are in crazy conditions. But is this when it comes into effect, when that happens? Because I would hate to put them in a position that we should be putting people in integration rooms that we don't have.
Right. Well, I think I can answer that, and I think that all of our rooms in our police department are in integrity rooms. As far as interrogation rooms, when it comes to that, it's just about the ordinances. The legislation is about recording. Right. Our officers have body cams. They can already perform this function. It's an additive to requests that our upcoming headquarters has a room solely for this initiative as well.
So Mayor, can I please have our police chief respond to this?
You can. Chief Meadows.
Chief Meadows.
So the spirit of that bill requires that you have two-way videotaping. In other words, that you be able to see the juvenile and the investigator to show that the child is not under duress while they're being questioned. As it stands now, what we've been doing is videotaping one way from our officer's body camera to the juvenile on the other side. And in most instances, or in all instances, we typically require that a parent be there during those questions as well. And so, to that end, once we get, the proper facilities, then yeah, we will be able to fulfill the spirit of what this ordinance suggests.
So at this time, do we have the proper and I support the spirit of this ordinance. What I am asking and what I'm looking for is effectuation. Do we have the proper accommodations to effectuate this ordinance at this time?
We do not know. No.
And so my question to Attorney Hyman is, if we pass this ordinance, will our police department be held to a standard to do what this ordinance, what the spirit of this ordinance is suggesting, when we don't have the current accommodations to effectuate it?
It's a resolution, and the way the resolution reads, it's encouraging or directing the police if they are interrogating a minor to make sure that it is video recorded. So whether or not that be with body cam, it didn't go into that many specifics, or whether or not it be in a room, just that there are video capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the resolution, the heart of it states, according to my recollection.
And so we do have that, Chief Meadows. Do we have
Yes,
that?
ma'am. We do it from our body cameras. But as I said, if we are trying to demonstrate, and the reason I say that the spirit of the ordinance, you want to demonstrate that the child wasn't under duress. For instance, with the situation that occurred with the minor children up in New York, having one-way videotaping doesn't necessarily show what the investigating officers are doing on the other side of that camera. And so, to that end, we just want to make sure that we have the ability to fulfill the spirit of what this ordinance is suggesting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further?
Mr. Mayor, if
Yes.
I may, yes. Yes,
I'm
actually,
gonna hear from Dr. Baker, then we're gonna vote. Go ahead,
Yes, sir.
Dr.
I just wanted to add, Chief is right, but just to inform my colleagues, it's one of those situations where with the Central Park 5 or Exonerated 5, their video was used in part. So that's what led to their convictions. So if, as long as the video goes completely through and it's recorded in its entirety, that's how, that's more so the spirit of it. I understand after speaking, further with our police chief that it could be effectuated better if we had both of those cameras. We would have to actually ultimately get the funding. I think we have a couple of sources of funds now, especially with what we're doing lately, talking about how much revenue we're bringing in. I think we can afford a second camera. But
it's not so much as a it's not so much as a camera as it is to have space in the facility. Certainly, we could buy the camera that can do that, but we just don't have any more space in our police facilities right now to set time. I mean, we have people kind of sitting on top of one another right now.
All right.
Right, and that's for a room, not for film.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Baker. Let's vote, please.
This is a motion by Councilmember Baker, seconded by Councilmember Gomes to approve with the amendment by Councilmember Baker. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
Oh,
Yep.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 31. Request council approval of a resolution to make eliminating racial disparities and income inequality public policy priorities within the city of South Fulton. This is sponsored by council members Khalid and Gilliard.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve, but before I go into a long drawn out thing, can you all even hear me?
Yes.
Yes, and I have some comments.
Okay,
Go ahead, Mr. Khalid.
I just want to say that the way that I came upon resolution was actually during the coronavirus crisis. We learned during that crisis that coronavirus was disproportionately affecting African Americans and that it was related to underlying health issues. We did not find that information out from anyone in the state of Georgia because at the time, in the first year of coronavirus, of COVID-19, the state of Georgia Health Department did not keep any morbidity or mortality statistics by race. Neither did many health departments in many states across the nation. The first data that we got about those issues came from New Orleans and from Wisconsin. And it was because in 2017, the Wisconsin County Commission wrote this exact same ordinance and began tracking this data. And so the purpose of this ordinance is to track data about disparities and make sure that it is a part of our decision-making as a council and as a staff. Since I first introduced this legislation, which I did copy from Wisconsin, the CDC has declared racism a public health crisis, not racism and income inequality, just racism. DeKalb County has declared racism a public health crisis, along with 10 states, 82 counties, and 115 cities. I have just put a map, a tracker of all of the states, counties, and municipalities that have adopted similar legislation. And I will be so proud if we could join this great cohort of progressive municipalities. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard?
Yes. Also for me, COVID-19 brought it to the surface. And when I say it, I'm talking about racial inequality and income inequality. And I've been around for a long time to see it. My introduction to it was Emmett Till. And you know, that was a long time ago. But anyway, what was really, really glaring and something that I did not know was that it was not restricted just to America. It was worldwide. And it was just unbelievable to see just how bad it is all over the world. But getting back to our country and our city, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to create history. We have an opportunity to really, really deal with inequality in so many different ways. And if we don't do it, we're going to be dysfunctional. So the ordinance that we are creating, if we do it with love, and if we make sensible policies, there's nothing in this world that we can't do. You know why? Because love cures it all, even racism.
All right. I think the one thing I like to say is that Mr. Khalid and you all is that it's the first time well, it may not be the first, but the use of the word inclusion was in this document. So I praise you all for that. Okay, let's vote, please.
I had a motion by Councilmember Khalid. I didn't have the second.
No second?
Second.
Probably second by Ms. Gilliard.
Okay.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 7-0. Next item is item 32. This is the first reading of the FY21 Budget Amendment Number 3 Ordinance. Finance.
Good afternoon. This is Rachel Bembry again. It's my pleasure to bring before you the first read of a mid-year amendment for fiscal year 21 budget. As you all have had the details as submitted with the agenda packet, I will take down any questions and or comments you may have, and I'll organize responses to provide follow-up. One item I want to go ahead and resolve is the inquiry from earlier in the agenda regarding traffic camera revenue. I have had an opportunity while the other agenda items were being discussed to look into that item and can report that we have received just over $3.1 million to date from fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21. So that is the most recent data I can provide, and I'm still working on the other item regarding fundraising received for Juneteenth, but we'll follow up with that as soon as I have that information for you. So at this time, I welcome your questions.
Mr. Khalid.
I'm going to start with the same motion to reconsider and repeal resolution 20-33.
Second.
Properly moved to second. In discussion? Hearing none.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, we
Go
have
ahead.
a question.
Go ahead. Is that you, Ms. Willis?
Well, but what
It
Ms.
was
Rao?
Rao.
I saw Rao first. I want to acknowledge you. Ms. Rao, go ahead.
So we have flyers that have been generated about a week of activities. I'm sure the city would not have put that out if they did not have money. Can somebody speak to that? Who's paying for these events? And I'm assuming it's Parks and Rec.
Mr. Tony Phillips.
Is Mr. Phillips on? I see he's muted. Tony Phillips.
Or Ms. Payne, somebody.
Okay, so I think we need to, oh, there you are, Rachel. Go ahead.
It's me. I having just come on board this week, I don't necessarily have those details on hand at this time, but I will make a connection with Mr. Phillips or whomever that is to get that information and follow up with you.
I'm just saying it would be reasonable to assume that we would not put out something that we did not already have the money on, particularly since this is being circulated through the communications department.
Yes, that is a fair assumption.
Right. So I don't know if repealing it, if we're already through this, we would be going to repeal something that we already had the funds for.
If we do, nobody knows we have funds.
Right.
But we've never done an event that was city initiated that didn't have money. I mean,
That's
really,
true.
I do want to hear from Parks and Rec because this would have fallen under them. Somebody should be available.
Since they're not, Ms. Jones, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding. Oh, is Tony on now? Okay. Since
Yes,
he's
ma'am,
not
I am on.
Go right
Okay.
ahead.
Hi, Mr. Phillips. The question has to do with the schedule for the Juneteenth event
Yes, ma'am.
and
the schedule and the funding.
And the funding to do the activities that's currently on the schedule for Juneteenth.
Yes, so we have scaled the activity plans contingent upon the funding. So we have several pending donations. We have not yet collected any of those yet. We sent out over 75 solicitations to businesses in the city with our sponsorship donation package. I've had several substantive conversations with businesses over the last 2 weeks. Now that we have post-graduation ceremonies, I've contacted several businesses today that have made commitments. We've yet to receive any checks. We do expect to receive some over the next 7 to 10 days. And at that point, we'll have an idea of how to scale those events accordingly. We have some in-kind donations for the concert at the end of the week that we've already secured for the performers for that finale concert.
So let me be clear. I have a follow-up, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Parks and Rec, we came up with a week of activities without having the money secured for the events?
So we began planning the event some time ago to scale the events. And so, yes, we have still been seeking donations. We have scaled those events contingent upon the funding that comes in, but we needed to go on and start putting together the program as we continue to seek donations.
I hear that, but I will say this. If I was in that seat, I wouldn't have done a full week. I would have did maybe a couple of days, especially without that funding commitment.
So let me ask you something, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Did your flyer say that you put out all these events? Was there a disclaimer or something that said contingent upon the funding?
There was not a disclaimer. Again, we are actively seeking donations and have had substantive conversations.
And I understand that. So you have XYZ list of programming, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you put out, right?
Yes.
So people's expectation is to see everything that you put out. But if you're telling me that if you don't get enough funding, you may have to scale back on some of that. Am I correct?
So we have put a contingency in place. The finale concert, we've already partnered with a local business that is sponsoring the concert. So we have the act secured for the concert. The Todd Olympics is a low-cost event. We do not have the funding secured for that. The film festival is in partnership with 2 in-kind donations with True Colors and one of our partners in the artistic community. So yes, we've scaled it to be able to make sure that we could move forward in any event. We do believe, based on the conversations that we've had to date, that there will be donations coming in. So we've got firm commitments for several businesses.
So the answer to my question is everything that you have on that flyer, you will be able to go forth on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For the record, that's what you said. Mr. Khalid?
Mayor, I'm in the queue. Are you recognized in the queue?
I got you. I don't see you. I see because Mr. Khalid, I see Ms. Guns. Ms. Willis, I don't see you in here, but I will add you, okay?
Okay.
Me too, please.
You'll come after you have Ms. Guns. There you are, Ms. Willis. You just came up.
Yeah, I went out and went back in. So
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Well, after Ms. Willis, we'll have Ms. Gilliard.
Okay.
So, I agree.
No, Ms. Willis, let me be honest. Ms. Cleveland.
Ms. Gumbs comes before me.
Okay, so I think that Mr. Phillips has made it clear we are going to have events. The quality of those events depends on how much money we raise. And right now, we don't have any checks in. And before we pile on Mr. Phillips, I do just want to bring everyone's attention back to the actual resolution. It did direct the city manager to call for timely and appropriate planning, outreach communications, blah, 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 to secure sponsors. So my question for the city manager is first, between September 23rd, 2020, and when this was passed, and now in the last 8 months, when did we begin to plan, outreach, and communicate to secure sponsors? When did that begin?
Well, Mr. Khalid, good afternoon, everyone. And, just to make sure you understand, I started with the city October 26th. I learned about the resolution probably within the last 2 months. It is my understanding that the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs Director, of course, he has been planning for this for the last several months, and he has been putting out information as he just described. And I have been working with him for the last several weeks to try to get as much information as we can out. But as you mentioned in the resolution, from my understanding, there was no money allocated to do this particular event. And so, we have been moving forward because we want it to be as successful as possible with the anticipation that we are going to receive sponsorships in order to pay for, those things that are being planned.
So thank you. So I have planned events and concerts, and I know that you have to pay some vendors and some performers ahead of time. You have to give them at least half the money up front, and these events start in 21 days. That's not to say that we will not have anything. I think that you all can see from the PSA that I and a group of volunteers put together, I'm going to make sure that we have something in the city of South Fulton for this holiday. But it does appear that balls were dropped. I am not interested in pointing blame or, taking anybody out in front of our public and doing this whole blame dance. If we are financially sound, and we just found out that we have another $1 million now in this speed camera fund. So if we have all of this money and we haven't properly planned for this event, then let's just repeal the resolution. It doesn't mean that we have to spend every dollar allocated in the resolution. It just makes sure that there are funds available so that we can have a successful event the same way that our parks just pulled off 6 successful high school graduations at Wolf Creek. I just want to make sure that our Parks Department has the resources that are available. I don't even know if they got comp time or overtime for all of the work they put in for the past few weeks. I do want to make sure that if we have this Juneteenth event, that we can pay them, that we can pay the people who are going to come and clean up, right? And President Joe Biden has asked for July 4th to be the opening day for America. I think here in the city of South Fulton, it would be wonderful if our opening day could be a series of outside events for Juneteenth that apparently have been in the works for several months. The funding just hasn't gotten started. So that's what I have.
Ms. Gunn, before you go, let me just say a couple of things, okay? One is, when you talked about staff, Mr. Khalid, you did have the staff. You had the whole park staff. They do work for us. They're part of the staff of the city. Number two is, the question I have in my mind is, from the time we passed this resolution until today, why hasn't there been any money raised? Number three, you're saying that we can take the money from the camera fund, but you just want to put out a resolution or something saying that we take all the money and do it for pedestrian sidewalking thing and make your mind up. So my thing is, yeah, somebody dropped the ball. I don't know it was us because our staff was doing the work and still continue to do the work. But I think it's unfair to us. It's unfair to our citizens. I want Juneteenth. Don't get me wrong. I want Juneteenth. And if I had done this measure, I would have prepared myself as I worked toward the date of Juneteenth, and everything would have been in line. That's my problem with all of this. And I don't think we're going to dip in no camera money to fund no Juneteenth. Ms. Gunn?
So I don't think that we're going to be able to come to any type of resolve today in regards to this without the information. But I do want to ask Mr. Phillips, being that you have been planning, do you have the plan and budget of what it is for everything that it's going to cost in order for these events, being that you scaled them down, to be presented without a hitch? What is the final cost or the proposed amount that you have as of right now?
I can share that information, Councilwoman Guns. We've scaled down. This plan has gone through several iterations as we've been mailing out to businesses, calling for donations, sending out sponsorship packages, meeting with businesses in the community, coming out of this pandemic, trying to collect as many donations as we can. So we've scaled it down a number of times as we got closer to the event to make sure we could manage it successfully. I don't have the budget with me to share at this time. I can certainly get that information to the city manager and into the council so you can see exactly how each event that has been advertised is budgeted. Again, we kept that operational functionality in mind, understanding that the budget was going to be contingent upon donations and sponsorships. Again, I've spent a large part of the day and the week, even the week leading up to graduation ceremonies, calling businesses, contacting businesses to try to raise this money. We can get this event done for a fairly nominal amount, but I have an exact budget that I can forward to council, to the city manager, and then to council in May.
Okay, also, one other question. So in the meantime, the money, have you been using, I guess, your Parks and Recs budget to, I guess, offload some of the upfront expenses?
No, so the events that we have planned do not carry a lot of upfront expenses. That's the operational detail we put into this because we knew it would be late in the process before any money was available to spend. So in planning for example, the film festival, it's in our existing theater. So there aren't a lot of upfront costs to do that event. Our Tot Olympics, we have a lot of that recreation equipment, gaming, and other things of that nature already in the department. It doesn't require us to go out and buy things. The finale concert at the end of the week, we've got a local businesses that generously gave us an in-kind donation to provide the headline act for that concert. So we don't have to pay those folks in advance. So we've thought through this, understanding that the funding would be based upon sponsorships and donations to make sure that we did not have to incur a lot of upfront costs since the resolution prohibits us from using any of our departmental budget.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. Hello. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think you're next anyway.
Yeah.
Miss Willis is next. I'm sorry. Miss Willis, you're next.
My apologies.
I thought Ms. Willis spoke.
No, Miss Willis is on the queue. I said you would come after Miss Willis.
Okay.
Miss Willis, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's very divisive to come before council and ask them to repeal a resolution that simply does what we're doing now. The resolution protects us from, acting irresponsibly fiscally. The resolution requires the city manager to work with the department head to timely plan events, to come up with costs, to raise money. The resolution does not need to be repealed. It's divisive to come before this council and repeal and to say repeal a resolution because we're saying simply that we should have an accounting for how much something costs and we should raise funding instead of trying to use people tax dollars to pay for a big party. We didn't even celebrate our city anniversary. This is important to all of us. But, we are constantly getting beat up about potholes, streets being paved, people wanting sidewalks. And so I just think it would be fiscally irresponsible to try to spend over $100,000 for a big citywide party when we didn't even celebrate our city anniversary, plus when there are other needs that must take place. And so Mr. Phillips just said that he has funding coming. He has said that these events have been planned for a nominal fee. He is confident that these events have been secured. Now, the events, Mr. Phillips, can you please stop the clock because I'm asking Mr. Phillips a question. Mr. Phillips.
Tony?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Who planned all of these events?
Our staff planned all of these events, the Freedom Film Festival, the United Tide Olympics, the Taste of Freedom, the Community Give Back, and the Freedom Finale concert.
City staff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
and you have the food distribution, which the Atlanta Community Food Bank is sponsoring. That's not costing the city anything. And so
That's correct.
So you're saying, Mr. Phillips, that the clock is on. I'm asking Mr. Phillips a question. Mr. Phillips, you're saying that these events essentially are already paid for that has been planned throughout the week. Is that what you're saying?
They're not currently paid for. They don't incur upfront costs so that we can rely on the donations that I'm confident we will receive. I cannot give you a dollar amount that's contingent upon what businesses decide to sponsor. But we structured them in a way so that we would not have to incur a lot of upfront costs based on the contingency of sponsorships and donations. Once communications was able to get the information out, it has generated additional interest. We've gotten several emails and calls from other businesses and vendors who've now expressed an interest in partnering with Juneteenth in various ways. So we continue to proactively push forward this sponsorship donation model that we've already sent out to over 75 businesses and been calling constantly. We have some tentative commitments, which is why I feel confident that we will get funding in. At what level remains to be seen, but we've had some commitments from local businesses that are simply going through the process of getting a check executed and getting it to us. I don't want to be ahead of that process and speak to it before we receive them, but we've been working hard at this to make sure that we can ensure that the events that we have already put out can be scaled appropriately for whatever level of donation comes in, and that we can do them appropriately. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of these events, when we look at them operationally, we can do them at nominal cost, like the Tide Olympics, the Freedom Film Festival. The Community Give Back is an event on Saturday morning where we'll have community projects throughout all 7 districts. It's a volunteer effort. It doesn't require a lot of upfront costs. It helps us to do something positive as a part of Juneteenth, giving back to our community without incurring huge costs upfront.
Okay, and Mr. Phillips, so if this council had to make a decision to allocate any type of funding, do you have a recommended amount at this time? I don't want to be pulling a needle out of a haystack when there are many needs that need to be met in the city by our taxpayers. So if you're requesting that we need to allocate any money at this point, how much would you suggest that we need to allocate? And this should come from staff. This should not come from policymakers. This should come from staff because the ordinance directs the city manager and Parks and Rec to plan these events.
So we currently are doing everything we can, Councilwoman Willis, to adhere to the directive we received from council through our city manager to adhere to the resolution that was passed. And so that's why we scale these events in a contingent manner so that we can be sure we can move forward with them regardless of the amount to come in. So currently, we've not formally requested additional funding. If you're asking me as a director, would additional funding be helpful? The clear answer to that is yes. And what I meant by scaling events is the concept will be scaled at the level that we had a
But I'm
generous
asking
business.
you how much. You're saying yes, but how much?
Based on the events that we currently have planned, we have scaled them so that at a $20,000 level, we should be able to do everything that we need to do.
Okay, 20,000. Okay. I would just suggest, I'm gonna close out with my 3 minutes and 7 seconds to say this. Mr. Phillips, going forward, I would suggest that you come up with a budget, because you know, when I work with you and plan the Yeet Festival and everything else, I usually have my funding in the bank or secure who's gonna pay for what. And I would suggest that we not only plan events, come up with a budget, you know, figure out who's gonna pay for what, and have that funding secured before publishing events to the public. If $20,000 is what you're suggesting, you know, that's something that the council can consider if it's up to the council. Thank you so much for all your efforts in planning the Juneteenth. I don't want to take that away from our Park and Recreation staff. Thank you so much for trying to plan a wonderful Juneteenth event that is citywide and inclusive of all districts in the city of South Fulton.
Thank you, Councilwoman Willis. I'll take that advice under advisement. I will tell you that this event is unique in that we don't typically have any other events that have no funding associated with them. And so to your point, when we plan events, typically it starts with the budget. It starts with exactly what our resources are, and we plan accordingly. This process was different because of the sponsorship donations required to fund it, but your advice is well taken, and we'll make sure to factor that in. We're learning as we go with these sponsorship events for Juneteenth, which is a standalone, different event than everything else we do in the department.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard.
I'm going back in time. I'm going back to the resolution and all the commotion, and I'm keeping it real. All of them, all of the whatever that went on for the ordinance to even get established, okay? And for it to even be a recognized holiday. And then when we talk about funding and we talk about having a budget of over $100 million. And so, you know, I've been really tracking since 2018 how we spend money. So we spend money for what we want to spend money for. When you really, really look at the numbers, where they are, why they are, how much they are. And the beautiful stuff about finance is that it has a record of what everybody spends or does not spend. So it is not our role as council people to fundraise. It is not the Parks and Recs department to fundraise. And we can't even compare this to our anniversary because we were still on lockdown during that period. And now it's like everybody that's been vaccinated, you can go out and you can do things that you couldn't do 2 weeks ago. Just make sure you have on your mask. So 1 + 1 is not equaling 2 as it relates to all of that. We need to find the money. We need to have it. If other cities are having it, they're finding a way to do it. And I am just so sure that finding $20,000 out of over a $100 million budget is not going to kill us. It is not going to be unfair because it is for the entire city and it commemorates an event that is a part of history. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Reeves. I saw you up on the queue, but you went out. Did you take yourself off?
Yes, Mayor. I said that this is going on long, but I'll just make this comment. Juneteenth is a very important event. It's very unique to our city, and it should have been funded from the get-go. But that's just a mute conversation because we're here where we're at now. So just let's go ahead and proceed the best way we can.
Okay, thank you all. Is there a motion? What's the motion, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, there's a motion on the floor, a motion by Councilmember Khalid,
Go ahead on, Mr. Clerk.
seconded by Councilmember Baker to repeal Resolution 2020-033.
Mr. Baker, Dr. Baker, I'm gonna allow you to speak and I'm gonna go on with this vote.
You know what? Just take the vote. For the record, I want to say that I am really embarrassed.
Okay.
I'm just embarrassed, and I want that to be on the record. And I apologize to our constituents because we should not be fussing over a small amount of money to acknowledge Juneteenth. Not in the blackest city in America when we all go to Savannah for St. Patrick's Day. And Juneteenth should be to South Fulton as St. Patrick's Day is to Savannah. But I yield. Thank you.
Got you, Dr. Baker. Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
This is to repeal it? No.
Yeah, this is to repeal. I got you as a no. Councilmember Gums.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
No.
Councilmember Gilliard.
No.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Wait a minute.
And I don't believe Councilwoman Gilliard know what we're voting for right
I sure didn't. I sure didn't. Please read. What are we repealing?
Resolution 2020-033.
Oh, no. I take that back. No, I'm not repealing that. That's the resolution for Juneteenth, correct?
Yes, that's the resolution to allow us to budget for Juneteenth. And Khalid does not want us to budget for it. He wants us to just willy-nilly saying we're gonna have Juneteenth in our budget. That's what it does.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
You're right, Mr. Dr. Baker. I know what you're going to say, Mr. Reed. What is the count?
The motion was approved 4-3 to repeal Resolution 2020-033.
I'm taking mine back because I did not know what I was voting for. So,
Yes, Councilmember Gilliard, I changed your vote to yes.
Right.
So your statement.
Yes.
4-3.
4-3.
I changed mine too.
You good, honey. You all right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Who's going, Miss Jones? Who's going to prepare this budget?
Well, this is the first reading, Mr. Mayor.
Or the first?
Yeah.
We still want to know who's going to prepare this budget.
We will prepare it.
Okay, now.
They already have a budget.
Okay. All right. Next item.
Next item, item 33. First reading of an ordinance creating a Trayvon Wilkins Memorial Pedestrian Fund, amending Title I Administration, Chapter 8, Budget of the City Code of Ordinances to restrict school zone traffic camera revenues for pedestrian safety improvements. This is sponsored by Councilmember Khalid. First read.
Mayor, I move that we table. I get it, but I'm still moving. I'm making a motion that we table this because it's in conflict with the recommendation that the city manager have brought to council for the Renaya major speed enforcement cameras. So I'm moving that we table this ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Discussion.
I have discussion.
Go right ahead.
This is a first read of an ordinance that requires 2 reads. Have no June meeting. So the second read will not come until July. I just want to pull up the exact date. The second reading will not come for at least 10 weeks until July 27th.
Hey.
This is disingenuous. I'm still talking. This move is disingenuous. If my colleagues are interested in having discussion about the issue or researching the issue, we could do that over the next 10 weeks as we would with anything that has a second read. I just want you to know that when I wrote this legislation, we had raised $2 million off the backs of our residents. We've now raised another $1 million off the backs of our residents. While I appreciate what our city manager has opined, the general counsel for the state legislature, who wrote House Bill 978, allowing us to even have speed cameras and update all of the official state codes that have been noted by the city manager in her memo. The people who write the state code said that this is okay. They said that we can do this. And our residents have made clear what they want to do. I do just want people to know that this is a compromise. I have had several residents who want the law repealed, period. So this is a compromise to return the money that was taken out of residents' pockets and return it back to their communities, as they've asked us to do overwhelmingly. So I'm not sure why we would table something that's not even up for a vote. I don't know, Mr. Adams, if we've ever done that.
Call for the previous question.
Before we do that, Ms. Hyman? Mr. Hyman?
You can, the tabling really, the motion to table really appropriate should be considered a motion to postpone to a certain date under my Robert's rules, the 12th edition.
Yes, that's what I have.
Go ahead.
And it does.
Go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I still had, before I had a question from Mr. Adams. Have we ever tabled an ordinance on a first read? Because there's already a date that it's postponed to. The date is postponed.
It doesn't matter whether we table it.
Right.
My question is it from Mr. Hyman? Is it appropriate?
Well, the question I asked the city clerk is, have we ever done it?
Okay, go right ahead, City Clerk, and then Mr. Hyman, tell me if it's appropriate.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not aware of that we've done that. I would have to research that, but I'm not aware that we've done it since I've been here.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, the formality of a first read is just that, but it doesn't preclude discussion or any motions that would attach to it. But the ultimate result is because you can't take action on it. It just opens up for discussion, but there's no action that is actually taken on it.
Right. So the motion is appropriate.
Oh.
The motion to table should really be construed as a motion to postpone to the next date, but it would be appropriate.
Okay. Ms. Rowell, I heard you say something.
Yes.
No, I'm in the queue. You don't have me in the queue?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms.
So the whole spirit of this ordinance is disingenuous. The whole spirit of asking residents to write in emails and accusing this council of not appropriately allocating the money to encompass public safety and right of way and signage is disingenuous. We asked our city manager in February to bring forth recommendations to this council on how the revenues could be allocated. And she did that. She did that on April 29th. What Mr. Camus did was go off with another attorney, because Councilmember Rowell and I confirmed that our city attorney did not write this ordinance. It was sent to him by another attorney for him to review and send through the legislative process. What Councilmember Khalid did do is go out, write this ordinance, and which is in conflict, and the attorney noted that it's in conflict with the recommendations that our city manager came back to this council with on April 29th. That includes public safety, includes fire, public safety, which is inclusive of fire, police, and also signage improvement. Also, several of council members have been presented with ways to improve the intersections for these speed enforcement cameras. And so majority of this council is in favor of the recommendations, and majority is 4 people are in favor of the recommendations that is brought forth by the city manager. I also have the 12th edition of Robert Rules, and I am within my right, and I am in order to request to table this. And I'm tabling this because the whole ordinance is not in this, it's divisive. And for a newsletter to go out inciting residents to come at this council unfairly, it's just ridiculous. When our city manager, and I want the residents to know this, came back with a nice memo, and she detailed in which that wasn't put out to you guys. What this money should be allocated for. It includes public safety. It includes how we should update signage, how we should improve the intersections. It was a fair, it's inclusive, it's a comprehensive ordinance that is inclusive of everything that residents have complained about. And so this is not about pushing someone. And then the ordinance is named after Renaya Majors, who life matters to this community. Her father supports this ordinance, the speed enforcement program, and he doesn't even feel like the tickets are high enough. His child was killed in the intersection due to speeders. And so, to try to take away from that and name it after someone who is not even a part of the South Fulton community is divisive, is mean-spirited, and is disrespectful to our city manager. When this council in majority asked the city manager to bring back recommendations to this council, and we got the recommendations on the 29th. Not only was this ordinance drafted by another attorney, the ordinance was put out to the community. The community was incited to attack this council, in which I have not received one email, because my District 3 community understands the political games that's being played. The city manager will bring back the recommendations via a resolution on the next regular council meeting. So I'm simply asking to table this ordinance, which I am within my rights to do, because it's in conflict with what majority of this council asked the city manager to do.
Okay, Ms. Rowell, I put Ms. Williams ahead of you, but you did say something. What did you want to say?
I guess I need to ask, do we need to carry that for point order? Do we need to carry that, or because I want to do propose something different? Okay, we'll carry the vote on that, I guess.
Okay, I got 3 more speakers.
I still want to speak, but I didn't want to interrupt the vote.
Go ahead, speak. No, you're still in discussion.
I would recommend that we just ratify the recommendations for revenue expenditures outlined by the city manager in our April 29th memo.
Second.
Okay, probably move the second. I still have Mr. Khalid.
Order.
Go ahead, point of order.
So we had a motion on the floor.
Point of order.
Point of order. I got a point of order. Mr. Baker, Dr. Baker, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we're in discussion already for you to carry a vote.
Right. That's what I was saying.
Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Where are we?
Yeah, there is a motion on the floor to table. And I believe Councilman Morale was trying to make another motion, but she didn't indicate whether it was a substitute or not.
So Mayor, what I'm willing
to go back, Ms. Rowell, you want to make a substitute motion?
I'll consider this. Will you accept it as a substitute motion?
Yeah, that's what I was trying. I was trying to correct the motion.
Right.
Right. I was trying to correct the motion because my motion was already on the floor, received a second. So Mayor, I was trying to say that I'm amenable to accepting her motion as a substitute motion so that I would not have to, pull my motion back. I'm amenable to accepting Councilman Morale's suggestion. Because essentially that's what the resolution does next council meeting. It brings back, we can still bring the resolution back, but I'm amenable to what Councilman Morale is saying.
So Mr. Clerk, do you understand there's only one motion on the floor now, and that's the one that Ms. Rowell and Ms. Willard are agreeing to?
That's correct. The second motion is on the floor.
Okay. All right. Now I have Mr. Khalid and Mr. Reeves. And then we'll vote.
I want to clear up some things that have been said that are untrue. So first off, and I'm going to step to my beef as a friend of mine says. Councilwoman Willis says that it is unfair for me to go to my constituents about this issue. When Councilwoman Willis brought forth the Renaya Majors Fund, she enlisted the entire communications department of the city to create videos promoting this fund. We had press conferences promoting this fund. What we left out of all of those marketing materials and press conferences was the fact that, one, we were hiring a private for-profit company to administer the program, that two, the tickets would have to be at least $150, and three, in none of the subsequent marketing or promotional materials created by this city did we ever say how much we were making off of this program. We had town halls and people asked, and those questions were never answered. It wasn't until a budget hearing like this when we discovered that the city was making millions. If Councilwoman Willis can go and sell an idea to the public, I, as an elected official and a policymaker, can do the same thing. I believe that, in fact, if we are going to make $3 million off of our residents in 8 months, the first people I want to talk to are the people whose money it is. So I went to them and I asked them, what do you want to do? Nobody said we wanted a tank. What they have told me is what they have told me for the past 4 years, and what they told me before we even became a city, is that I want speed bumps on my street. I want crosswalks in my neighborhood. If we put speed bumps in front of a lot of these schools, the company would stop making money and the city would stop making money. And it is something that we can do. We already have speed bumps in front of S.L. Lewis on Connell Road in District 7. We have them in front of Bethune Elementary in the Valley Hills neighborhood in District 6. We could put them on Burdett Road in front of McNair. We could put them on Jolly Road in front of Heritage. And with a slight amendment, we could put speed bumps on Creole Road in front of Old National. Now that would take care of all the Old National school districts. If y'all want to keep making money off residents in other places, then go ahead. And then lastly, I do want to clear up, I'm not allowed to share my screen right now. I wish that I could, Mr. Adams, because I would show again this letter from the General Counsel of the people who wrote the bills overseeing the entire state that says that this is allowable. And I would let people know that Mr. Trayvon Wilkins, this is not about dishonoring Renaya Majors. This is actually about honoring Renaya Majors. I just want to make sure that the money that we are raising in her name goes back to keep other pedestrians safe. Trayvon Wilkins was a 2017 high school senior at Creekside High. He was a member of this community. He lived on Old National. He was killed on Old National outside of Madison Place, crossing the street where he lived. He died his senior year. His mother came to city council and asked in 2018 for these traffic improvements, but we didn't have any money. Now we have $3 million. We can spend it on all of the other things that people want to spend it on, but I want to make sure that first, for $3 million, that there is not a road in this city where people have asked for a speed bump that they don't get it because they've been asking for them for 20 years. Now, regardless of however this council votes, I will keep pushing for this as long as residents want me to. And regardless of how we vote, you ultimately will have the final vote in November. South Fulton forever.
That's cute.
It is.
Let's
Mayor, I'm in the queue.
Let me first of all, before you get there,
okay.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir.
Has Mr. Khalid spoken twice? I think he has.
Yes.
Okay, so he's prohibited from speaking again. Who I have now is Mr. Reed, then Ms. Willis.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging. Yes, I do have a problem with Blue Line, and I do have an issue with how they ticket residents, and some are outside of the school zone because many of the complaints come from weekends and it's outside of the school zone period. I've asked to see that contract. I've asked that we look over that. But I do support Madam City Manager's recommendations on what she came with, because she did come with a solution that I think is amenable to all parties.
Yes.
What I would like to see is that now we know that we have $3.1 million raised off of this, is that the money get appropriated to the funding sources of what she recommended in all those categories that she recommended. And I think that we all can get what we want out of this. And I share that sentiment. And so because we as a collective body did ask her. And I think that this is something that we can all agree on. We just want to see our city manager put implementation to it and appropriate the money so that we can send this out to the residents. And it's fair and it's equitable to all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed, Ms. Willis, and then we'll move on.
So one thing about it is, first of all, that's all this whole argument is about, is, this whole situation is about a political ploy for November. I have a question for the attorney. Attorney Harmon, and also the city manager. Isn't it true that every contract comes before the city, that the city has to come before this council for approval?
No.
I asked the city manager and the city attorney, every contract that is above $25,000, that's our threshold. Doesn't that contract has to come before this city council for approval?
Yes.
On our ordinance contracts that are binding in nature, and above that, the dollar threshold should come before the council. I'll put it in that fashion.
Yes. This council directed you to go back and review the Blue Line contract for several reasons. Didn't the Blue Line contract come before the city for approval?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, so Blue Line came before not only this council for a contract approval, which I believe we got unanimous approval on. Not only did they bring the contract to this council, they came and did a presentation before this council, and they outlined in the contract how they were going to administer this program. And the chief, before this program was implemented, Chief Meadows came before this council and explained how it was going to be administered. So to sit here and tell the public that information was not put forth out in the public and explained to the public is disingenuous and is a flat out lie. And yes, we did put out videos, education videos. That was one of the reasons that we went with Blue Line, because they were different from other vendors who does this, because the speed enforcement cameras is in several municipalities. If we got a problem with the state law, take it up with state legislators. We're enforcing what we are supposed to enforce. Several companies administer this program. The reason we went with Blue Line, because Blue Line agreed to fund an education component. That's why you have flyers. That's why you have videos. The whole premise of this program was to make sure that people slow down in our school zones. We were getting a plethora of complaints from parents complaining about people speeding in our school zones. The cops are busy solving crime. They don't have the resources to sit in our school zones to consistently write tickets who are speed. So also, Mr. Khalid, he also voted and approved for us the smart technology that I co-sponsored. The smart technology ordinance says that we're supposed to look for innovative and technology to make sure we run an efficient government. So the fact that we have cameras catching people who are speeding in our school zone instead of a physical officer is compliant with the smart technology ordinance. So please stop lying on me, because if you go back to when we implemented this program, Blue Line came before this council, presented a presentation. The Ryan Major Speed Enforcement Ordinance got a unanimous vote. Also, the contract got a unanimous vote. So stop trying to make this about being mayor, and let's really stick to the issues, which is providing safety in our school zones, taking the revenue and applying it to what the comprehensive recommendations that came before this council by way of the city manager on April 29th, which is fair and inclusive and a win-win for the entire city. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Can we ask the city clerk to publish up to the council that meeting and that with the Blue Line presentation and all that information so we can send that out for the edification of the public?
Thank
you. You want him to send it to you so you can send it out? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it has to be fine.
Call for previous question.
Okay. Can I say one thing? Can I get a minute? Two quick items. Number one is, as long as I've been mayor in 4 years, I have never heard one of these council people until today use this platform for a political gain.
Right.
And I want everybody to understand, including myself, the next time it happens, I'm going to ask you to leave the meeting, because this is not a place for you to play political politics. It's not about that. Secondly, let me say this. Mr. Khalid, you got up in front of a TV camera and you said these words, that we were pimping the name of Renaya Majors. And I've never forgotten it. That was a bad thing to say. And especially when the fact that her family may have heard that. That was a bad thing to say. So I'm putting everybody on notice. Don't come in here with these political agendas, because we're here to take care of the people's business. Go right ahead, Ms. Wild.
I called for the previous question. Could you restate the motion, clerk?
Yes, the motion is a motion by Councilmember Burrell, seconded by Councilmember Willis, to adopt the recommendations of the city manager in their April 29th, 2021 memorandum.
Can I get a second on the previous question?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Properly move the second to the previous question. Let's vote, please, Ms. Clerk.
This is a vote for the previous question. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Gilliard,
go ahead.
Councilmember Reeves,
aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Abstain.
Reason?
Because I believe that this is something that I don't want to be a part of, because everybody is playing politics with it.
Okay, thank you.
The motion to call the question is passed.
All right, let's vote on the previous question, please.
Main motion.
Yes.
Roll call. Councilmember Rao.
Restate that motion.
The motion is motion by Councilmember Rao, seconded by Councilmember Willis, to adopt the recommendations of the city manager in her April 29th, 2021 memorandum.
Okay, verify. Okay, yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-1.
Okay. Next item, please.
Next item is item 34. First reading of an ordinance to amend Title I Administration, Chapter 3, Mayor and Council, Sections 1-3008 and 1-3009, designated as reserved under the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for a plan of defense for officers and employees, payment of claims and judgments, and the selection of outside counsel. This is sponsored by Councilman Burrell.
Councilmember Rao.
It's just a first read, but it's consistent with the parameters under which the city would pay for outside counsel. It's developed and based on what we saw, how Fulton County deals with outside counsel, and it is in line with the fee schedule we previously adopted.
Okay. Any question or any remarks?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have Dr. Rao, have you consulted with GERMA on this ordinance?
The city attorney can speak to that. He helped write this. Well, he wrote it. So yeah. Can you speak to that, Mr. Hyman?
This is authorized under 45-921 that a county municipality can have a plan of defense even if it has GERMA coverage. So for example, if there's an exclusion by GERMA's insurance policy, the city would still have a plan or mechanism in which to represent a officer employee.
Right. My question was, had you taken this policy to GERMA to have them looking? I do understand that we can do something to supplement. I do also understand that the Georgia Municipal Association Insurance Agency has a team of lawyers that does this 365 days. And I'm just wondering if they had taken a look at the legislation.
I have not personally presented this to GERMA, but this did get routed through our legislative process to Mr. Mark Williams, which is our risk, which I'm assuming if there was any conflict would also advise me as well. But this being the first read, I can also make sure for the second read if they have any issues with it, if that'll address your concerns.
Yes,
Can I also offer this? It was actually the practice that we have done to allow for you, Councilwoman Willis, and other council members to have coverage in terms of the plan of defense. We were basically going on the practice that was in place under Fulton County, but now it is clear and transparent for the public. And so that was important.
I'm sorry, Mr. Khalid, you were about to say something.
No, I appreciate that. I still would ask Attorney Hyman if you could forward it on to GERMA for their notes.
Okay.
All right, next item.
Next item is item 14. Request council confirmation of the following recorded development plats as approved by the city engineer. Councilmember Gilliard held number 2 and number 3.
Okay, Councilmember Gilliard?
Yes. I would like for Ms. Reed to come to the mic if possible.
Ms. Reed?
Present.
Ms. Reed, I went out and I found out that Camden Manor is sold out. This is number 2. Camden Manor is sold out. And the community contacted me and told me that there's a lot of things that they didn't, that they haven't taken care of, which is sort of common, particularly if government doesn't stay behind the developers while they are managing the HOA, which means that they're supposed to take care of all of the amenities in one of the areas where they usually try to get out of taking care of is the retention ponds. And we know that from a long time ago. But to make a long story short, for this particular subdivision, there were a list of issues 2 years ago that related to retention ponds that they have not taken care of. So I don't want to go through any more of the HOA is responsible, because we know that the HOA is the HOA board is controlled by the developers up to the point of turnover. Then they turn it over to the homeowners, and they are responsible for. So what are we going to do about the fact that more than likely the only thing that we can keep them or hold them accountable for is the retention ponds? And where are we with them, with the bond being released for this subdivision?
So
the bond, Ms. Reed?
So I will defer to our city engineer. He's actually on the call and he manages those bonds. So Eric, Mr. Glover, if you could speak on that, please.
Just 1 second, please. Before we go to the bonds, let's talk about the retention ponds.
Okay, on the detention pond, the particular pond you're referring to is Camden Manor Phase 1. Camden Manor Phase 1 was platted by Fulton County in 2016, prior to us becoming a city. So what should happen, what normally happens prior to a plat being received, the detention pond has to be landscaped prior to platting. If it's not landscaped, then we require a performance bond from that developer prior to platting. And the performance bond is a cash bond such that we can ensure that if the landscaping has not been completed, it will be completed by us using their fees. For this particular case, I cannot speak to whether the pond was originally landscaped or not prior to platting, because it was platted by Fulton County prior to City South Fulton becoming a city. But for a plat that we have, we would be certain that either A, the landscaping is already complete prior to platting, or we have the cash bond on hand, the actual cash money, the cost of the landscaping plus 25% cash in our bank, so that if the pond is not landscaped, then we have the funds to do that ourselves. Plus also there is a maintenance bond agreement that's signed by the developer, indicating that they will maintain, that the pond will be maintained after we plat. In addition to that, the engineer, the designer's engineer, the developer's engineer will give us an engineering certification that at the time of platting, we know that the detention pond is functioning adequately as per their engineer's stamp document. Now that's how we handle it when we receive a plat since we become the city of South Fulton. This particular one we're talking about is phase one, which happened prior to us becoming a city. Now, to your question, if we confirm this plat, will we still have teeth, if you will, to force D.R. Horton to repair the pond? Certainly we can, but understand the pond is from a previous phase. It's not from the pond's phase. It's not the phase that this plat is speaking to. But we certainly can, because we still hold the CO. So even if you confirm this plat today, we still have to approve the building permits before they can build on it. And then we still have to give them a CO before they can sell the home. So confirming this plat will not prevent us from enforcing them to complete the landscaping on the detention pond in phase one.
So Eric, let me ask a question. If you don't mind, Ms. Gill, let me ask a question. While you're doing that, did D.R. Horton do both phases?
D.R. Horton, yes, sir. They did phase one. This is predating us.
I understand all that. I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Phase two. So couldn't there be a contingent that for them to move forward, that they would have to do what you said about the detention pond in phase one? Couldn't there be a contingent of their approval?
Yeah, you mean the plat? You saying?
Yes, the contingent.
Yes, sir. I mean, if you say to me that we cannot confirm this plat until they fix the pond in phase one,
Ms. Gill, I think that's it.
Mr. Mayor, they are sold out. They are sold out.
Well, you mean when you say sold out, everything has been built?
They're not building anything else because they don't have anything else to build.
Council member, can I add one thing? The reason for this plat is there were 5 lots that were excluded on the previous plat.
There you go.
So this plat contains 5 lots that they were not allowed to build on previously. So they want the plat so they can finish their last 5 lots.
So that's
the purpose of this plat.
Ms. Gilliard.
Okay, so when you go out to their website, what do they already have contracts for those 5 lots? Because they say they're sold out. The community says they're sold out. So where is the truth in all of this? Are they sold out or aren't they?
Okay, the previous plat that was approved, I can't answer your question. Well, I have to say it like this: to the best of my knowledge, the previous plat that was approved, they've probably sold all of those houses. However, in that plat, there were 5 lots that it says excluded from this plat. So there were 5 specific lots that were excluded from that original plat. So those 5 lots, they have not been able to build upon. So once you confirm this plat, they'll be able to build those last 5 lots.
Okay, now how are you going to hold them accountable? Not necessarily for the landscaping is a part of establishing the retention pond, but it requires maintenance. You got to take out the growth and cut it down and do certain things, and they're not doing that. So how are you going to hold them accountable during this period that they are there? They should be taking care of it like they're taking care of all the other amenities. There are certain things that we'll never get them to be able to do because they came in after the subdivision turnover ordinance was written. But those ponds, they should leave them in good shape when they finish those 5 lots. So how can you hold them accountable?
I can deny them their COs. I mean, I can make.
That's what I'm saying, Ms. Gilliard.
Okay.
They meet our conditions, but we deny the CO.
Okay.
So
as long as they turn over those retention ponds to the HOA board in good condition, for them to take it over and go from there and not to have to clean up a mess that they're not responsible for.
I got you.
Okay.
I think that's a fair way to do it, Ms. Gilliard. If you agree with me, I think we just need to put some conditions on there before they get a CO.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So Eric, what we need to do, we need to let you talk with Ms. Gilliard about what condition we want to have in there, or do we go and approve this plat as it is?
Well, I mean, if you confirm it today, I can certainly circle back to Ms. Gilliard, and I know at least 2 of the conditions that she has. I mean, I from previous conversations, but if she has any additional conditions, certainly she can voice them to me, and I certainly will pass it along.
I just feel good about
that's
approving it. Huh?
Yeah, I can really deal with that.
Okay.
And so let me just say this. I have the same concerns about Oakhurst Glen.
Is that your second one?
That's my second one.
Okay.
I have the exact same concerns about it. I don't know where Mr. Glover, they are with their plats, whether or not they've sold everything out and where they are, but I'm concerned about them for the same reason, in addition to the fact that I don't know whether or not they have put in all the trees. They took away so many trees in that subdivision. It was just unbelievable. So I don't know whether or not they have put in any additional trees or enough trees.
Okay, now this Oakhurst Glen, this is phase 3 of a 5-phase subdivision. So the phase 1 and 2 have already been approved. And I can certainly, council member, get those answers to you. What happens is, in the beginning, we have what we call a tree recompense. So in the very beginning of a project, prior to us approving the LDP, we know we have our arborist, and we require the developer to get their own arborist as well. So their arborist prepares what we call the tree report or arborist report, which documents all the recompense trees, which normally is 24 inches or greater for a hardwood, and it's 12 inches or greater for an ornamental tree like a dogwood. And then they have to document all the trees that they're going to cut down that are recompense, and then they have to pay a significant amount of money. Now, the money they pay is either it's like a performance bond where they say we're gonna replant X number of trees, or they just pay money into the tree fund, which means that this money they're paying to the city that we could use later for tree payment. And I have an extremely good relationship with Cynthia Porter. She's the accountant in finance. She's the accountant that's assigned to us. So all the money goes to Cynthia Porter. I don't take in any of the money, but so she and I work very well together. They also have what they call a density they have to meet. So the area has to have a certain amount of density, the total area, as well as you've got the setbacks and then the other conditions for example, you've got the buffers and things that have to have a certain tree density set out. So all that's laid out prior to them cutting a single tree. And that's how so I'd have to go back and research phases 1 and 2, but I'd be glad to do that for you and let you know X dollars was paid, X dollars was refunded after those trees were planted, or, you know, so on and so forth like that. But we could certainly do that. And I can hold them accountable on that as well on Oakhurst Glen by the same way, either A, not approving their building permits or denying their COs. So either way, they could get the plat today, but we still have a way to force them to do what we need them to do later.
Okay. So that sounds good. I'm in agreement to that, because I know you're going to keep your word, because I know that I'm going to just continue to call you and everything. But I really do appreciate what you're telling me, because you're telling me a lot of things that I don't know. And that's one of the main reasons why I pulled these items off. And just one more real quick, because I know everybody's tired and I want to go through the last of this really quickly. So this subdivision really started out as the retreat at Sierra Estates. And I see that phase 2 is here, and I'm almost sure that it's finished.
Is this 1 or 2 or 3?
No.
Let me ask you, if you want to go ahead and make a motion on 2 and 3?
I'm talking about something that's already been voted on. So I can't talk about it now because we've already voted.
You want to make a motion on 2?
I will just keep it to these 2 and move on. I am now finished with CDRA because now I'm moving on to number 15.
Okay, hold up. Are you going to make a motion to approve 2 and 3?
Pardon me?
Are you going to make a motion to approve?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve phase 3 for Oakhurst Glen, and the plat for phase 3 for Oakhurst Glen, and the one for Camden Manor.
Okay.
The plat for Camden, phase 3 for Camden Manor, and phase 3A for Oakhurst Glen.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved to second. Mr. Reeves, you're in the queue. This is
Oh
discussion.
yes, I was gonna ask Mr. Glover if as far as when it comes to the retention ponds on all, can we just create the policy to just make that general policy for all and the standard for all development that's coming in that has retention ponds?
We can certainly, I mean, the way it's written now, and I know Councilman Gilliard wants doesn't exactly like all that's written now, but the way it's written now, the detention pond maintenance is required by the HOA. So I mean that's the way it's written now, and that's you know, and I don't know if we really want to, you know, can we talk further about that?
Yes. I'm speaking to making sure it's in full working condition and full operational as it should be and constructed in the correct manner before it's turned over to the HOA board. That's what I'm talking about. Right.
Okay. We do. Okay. At time of plat. Okay. So it's turned over to the HOA at the time of plat. You mean before the HOA is turned over to the residents?
Right.
At the time of plat, when the HOA is first created and it's controlled by the developer, we do get a certification from the engineer that he or she has inspected the detention pond and it is functioning adequately. That's what we already have in place when we plat the subdivision. Okay. I think what you're asking, could we have a second certification done at the time that the detention pond is handed over to the residents?
Correct, because see, we have so many that's dysfunctional, so something is wrong with that process. So if we can just clear up in the policy and get that clear, that or when it is turned over to the residents who actually live there, that they're not stuck with footing the bill to clean it up and get it corrected.
Can I speak with my director and get back to you? Can we have that conversation?
Let's do that, Corey, because I got a few things I want to add to that too. I think you're going in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's vote, please.
It's a roll call vote. It was a motion by Councilmember Gilliard, seconded by Councilmember Reeves to approve number 2 and number 3. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Rao.
Dr. Rao.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Yes.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 15, request council approval authorizing the city manager to execute a right-of-way mowing and maintenance agreement for GDOT project ID 00118845, State Route 14, Roosevelt Highway, and County Road 1389, Washington Road, roundabout.
Was that you, Miss Willis? Miss
That was me.
Gilliard.
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason why I pulled it is because, first of all, it's an agreement. I don't really know what that meant, but I was glad that I went to the site where all of the FITS information and approval and additional information is. So what I found out is that it's located in District 3. I know that. But it says that the city is financially responsible for the design, installation, maintenance, and removal of any enhancements, that it will begin in February of 2022 and construction will begin in 2023. So I am trying to understand, how do we accept how do we approve and say, yeah, we're going to accept this when we don't even know how much it is? So especially when you have items on a consent agenda and you're being asked to approve it without any discussion, and now we know that there's a cost involved, but we don't know what this cost is. So
Okay,
I am concerned about that.
Is Mr. Valenzuela here? Antonio?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, good evening, Mayor and Council. With regards to this IGA, it is a typical IGA that the Georgia Department of Transportation requires for municipalities for us to maintain the rights of way upon then completing a project that they take under design, rights of acquisition, and construction. So our obligation will follow under the maintenance funds that we have for the city, which will be if the signal or any minor items within that location is required for maintaining, the city will be responsible. I do not anticipate any major impacts, and the funds to maintain will be as any other intersection that we maintain currently.
Mr. Valenzuela, that's not what I read. That is in the repository that Bernardo Pascal has, where the detail is, the detail says that the city is responsible financially for the design, installation, maintenance, and removal of enhancements. And if this is going to begin in February of 2022, in terms of the design and all of that, why are we approving this now?
This project is under design. We're taught by the Georgia Department of Transportation. It would be much better if the IGA is written on, and attached on the agenda for this item is better read again. I don't know exactly what Mr. Partial has put on under a different report, but I will recommend to adhere to the IGA that is attached to this agenda item.
Okay, I'm just going to say one last thing, and then I'm really going to be done with it. This is what is on the agenda. Request council approval authorizing the city manager to execute a right-of-way mowing and maintenance agreement for GDOT project, State Route 14, Roosevelt Highway, and County Road, that's Washington Road, roundabout, Public Works. So this says nothing about an IGA, number one. and it talks about executing a right-of-way mowing and maintenance agreement. And then when I go to the detail, it says that we're responsible for design, installation, and maintenance, and da 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 da. So what is it really?
Well, the decision memo states that we're going to be responsible for maintaining that intersection, the rights of way of that intersection. The document attached by Georgia DOT lists what we are responsible for. Currently, Georgia DOT is designing the Roosevelt Highway at Washington Road. It's going to be a roundabout. And they are going to acquire the rights of way and also let the project to construction. So after they will be finished, and according to Title 32, and with any other municipality, municipalities are responsible for maintaining any local roads, even sometimes on state routes, where Georgia DOT provides all those services at no cost to the city. So our commitment, it is to maintain the rights of way. It's a similar situation, like we are responsible for maintaining the roundabout at Cedar Grove, Ridge Road, and Cascade Palmetto. There's no difference with this project that GDOT is requesting from us.
So we're going. So I'm trying to understand where the IGA comes in. The IGA comes in where they're saying this is a state road, but we're going to allow you to maintain it, and you're going to observe the cost for maintaining it. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It's a similar situation like your roundabout.
Okay.
GDOT design, they acquired the rights way, they built the project at no cost to Fulton County back then, and now we are responsible for maintaining the rights way.
Okay. All right.
Okay, now I got Ms. Willis.
Mayor and council, I would ask that we move forward and approve this measure. This roundabout that is coming not only in District 3, but also in District 5, is coming in an intersection where there has been numerous accidents, multiple fatalities. We consistently have congestion at the Washington Road and Roosevelt intersection. District 3 and District 5 is severely impacted. We already cannot do anything about the trains that lay on the tracks because that's a federal problem. But we are dealing with horrific traffic on a day-to-day basis. And the traffic buildup is at that intersection. Mm-hmm. This project is going to be majority financed by GDOT. It is a multi-million-dollar project. More density is coming because we do have the Job Corps facility that is slated to open in year 2023. This is not any different from the roundabout that is in Cedar Grove, that is on Campbellton Road, and that is throughout other roundabouts throughout the city. My motion is to approve this measure so we will not hamper and stall this project. Thank you.
There's a second.
Mayor, I have a final comment. My final comment. Mayor, I have a final comment.
Let's give you hold on. Is there a second?
So move second.
Probably move the second, Ms. Gilliard, then Mr. Khalid.
The only reason why I took this off, Mr. Mayor, was simply to get clarity because I did not have that. I did not know what it meant. And then when I went to some additional information, I didn't know it as well. And it didn't say anything about an IGA. So I just don't want, I just don't want any drama.
Understandable.
Now I really understand it. Mr. Valenzuela made it clear.
Understandable. Mr. Khalid.
Yes, Mr. Valenzuela, I just wanted to ask, do we have these mowing right-of-way agreements for our other major corridors?
Mr. Valenzuela, I just wanted to ask, do we have
Mr. Khalid, you kind of lost the communication. I couldn't.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I was just asking, do we have these right-of-way mowing agreements with GDOT for our other major corridors throughout the city, Cascade, Old National, Camp Creek?
Right-of-way agreements are done as projects that are being executed. On the state routes, the state has its own agreements, but by Title 32, we are responsible after certain things on minor responsibilities on the state routes.
So,
And
so,
in other words, we don't have
okay.
right-of-way agreements for all because we don't do every single project with the state. But with any time that we do an agreement with the state, we'll be always responsible for the rights-of-way maintenance as well as for the street light installation and maintenance.
So not asking about any of that stuff, asking about mowing. If we, I'm going to vote yes for this, definitely. I would just ask that at our next meeting, if you could work on some right-of-way mowing agreements for our other major corridors, because I get a lot of questions about it. Thank
I
you.
second that one.
Okay, couple of things. Number one is anytime you're working with another government, it is already precluded that there's going to be what is called IGA, an intergovernmental agreement. That's just a given. The second thing is, I would ask of all of you guys, when you have these specific questions that you know you're going to ask, the staff is always open prior to the meeting to get your questions answered. So I would encourage you all to utilize staff to get your questions and understanding before the meeting. Okay, let's vote.
This is a vote to approve. Council roll call. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes. Councilmember Gomes. Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved 6-0.
Next item.
Next item is item 19. Request council approval authorizing the city manager to execute the lease for Old National Marketplace, Phase 2, 6385 Old National Highway, South Fulton, Georgia, 30349 for the Main Street office, destination South Fulton.
Did you pull that off?
Yeah, I did because it didn't have any money attached to it. And I went to that same type of report that Mr. Pascal produces. And I know that it's going to be X amount a year and X amount for 10 years. And so I'm just wondering where the money's coming from. That's all.
Who wants to speak to that?
Well,
Mike, you want to speak to that?
I don't
Yes,
know.
sir.
I don't know if we should speak to it now or later or whatever, however we want to
No.
do it. But
I'm happy to speak to it now. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to say that this is an item that has already been actually approved. The expenditure has been approved by the Mayor and Council back in January of 2020. That was the LOI that the Mayor and Council received that had the funding with the pay schedule and everything. That LOI was actually executed at the same time that the Red Oak lease was executed. So both of them were approved previously.
Yeah.
The reason why it's coming to the Mayor and Council now is because we didn't execute the lease. And when we got into the pandemic, I wanted to be fiscally responsible and not pay a lease for a building we couldn't use. Mm-hmm. So we held off on signing the lease until now. Now that things are opening back up, we want to go ahead and move forward with the lease. But the lease is already budgeted in this fiscal year. It's also been requested in the next fiscal year. So the funds are currently available for that lease.
okay.
Is that satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
All right, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I want to make a motion that we approve the request for the lease for the Old National Marketplace.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Reeves, this is discussion.
Yes. Mr. Pike has, I agree with the lease because the one on Old National still has to be built out, correct? Yes, sir. Once we execute the lease, they're going to be delivering the building to us sometime in the fall for us to occupy. It is a spec building, and so they will do a total build out for us as part of our lease agreement. Okay, and has a manager been hired for that location?
The manager's been put on hold because we didn't have a location for them to go in. We didn't have office space. So we are going to hire the manager, but we haven't hired them yet because of space concerns.
Okay, so they already been selected. Okay, so once that gets built out, and
just
fully-
clarity, they haven't been selected. We are going to be selecting them. We'll go through the interview process shortly after the lease being executed, so that by the time they come on board and the time the building is delivered, they will coincide, because right now we don't have office space for additional staff.
Correct. And so, but I'm clear, when it comes on board in the fall and we're able to occupy the programming at Main Street and that building, what it's used for, will be fully operational and ready to go.
Yes, sir. We are putting all the programming in place now. And so in October, when we take over the building, we'll be ready to go on day one.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let's vote,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao?
Sorry.
Yes.
I have questions.
Mr. Khalid, I'm sure you do, but I don't see your name. I can't see nothing on you, but go right ahead.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much.
Is your queue working? Is your queue working?
It is working.
Now you just came up.
Well, my apologies for that. I did type it in the chat as well, but this isn't. I did just have a couple of questions because I have been out of the loop on this. Unit 21, I did see that is the unit. Where exactly is that? Next in relativity to the LA Fitness.
That is the unit that is right next to the Dollar General in the plaza where the
in that same plaza. Perfect.
Yes, sir. Yep.
I did see that it was going to be 3,000 square feet. So I had a couple of questions about when we might be able to see designs, and is there any possibility that there might be space for either co-working spaces or for an Old National PD workstation, because that is that has been a theft from vehicles hotspot.
Well, actually, both of those will be in that location. This is actually going to be a Collab South location. So, as you know, our Collab South facilities are co-working spaces, and it's just like the Collab South at Red Oak. There is a police desk in there for the police officers to come in and do paperwork and to do other things. So there will be the same program will be on Old National that is at Red Oak.
Perfect. And then I did see, this is for you or Ms. Bennett, whoever can answer, but I did see the department line 100-1595-52-2310. Is that a Destination South Fulton budget or a general fund facilities budget?
No, so rentals of facilities are all kept in the public works budget. So the money was put in the public works budget to pay for the rental of this facility, just as the Red Oak rent comes out of public works budget as well.
I mean, that's good to know. I do know that there are some other departments that have been short for space. So if we need to get them space now, I know where to go. And then do you have a date yet for a tentative date for the grand opening?
I do not. I don't want to put a date out yet without knowing when exactly the date the building is going to be delivered. The company has said that they expect to get it to us in October, but it'd be a little bit premature to put an actual grand opening date.
Well, please keep us posted. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
We did have a groundbreaking for that, Ms. Pack.
Yes, we did have a commemorative groundbreaking to basically say this is where it's going to be. And as I said, we were in the middle of finalizing the lease, but we held off because it just didn't make sense for us to pay for a building we couldn't occupy.
Told everybody about the groundbreaking, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, no more questions. Let's vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 20. Request council approval authorizing the mayor, city manager, and city attorney to execute an agreement and paperwork related to the U.S. Department of Treasury coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds for the city to receive an allocation of $11,352,517 from the American Rescue Plan.
Ms. Gilliard, I think you pulled that one off too.
Yeah, this is the last one. Thank goodness. So what first of all, I have a concern approving $11 million on the consent agenda. So that was one thing. The second thing is that we were originally told that we were going to get $31 million. Then we were told that it would be going to be cut to 11 million. And now we are accepting 11 million, but A, we don't know why it was cut. B, on May the 18th, one of the commissioners sent out an email to the mayor. No, I'm sorry, sent out an email to constituents. And I went through the document and I had a lot of questions. And the first thing is that during one of the meetings, a decision was made that Fulton County would be the one that would disperse and handle all the funds. So that was the first thing that got my attention, rather than us doing it ourselves, which we could very easily do. I mean, after we got past the CARES Act, I think we did a good job of doing it ourselves. So we don't know, A, how much the county is going to charge us in overhead. And we've already had the overhead experience with an IGA with the county. Okay. So there is no documentation or any additional information that we have as council people that says you're going to get $11 million, and based out of $11 million, how do you plan to use it? That's not being talked about. The only thing that was sent out to us was that the RIP, and this is the county, is going to allocate part of the 206 million for home mortgages, rental, utilities, assistance for homeowners, grants to small businesses, premium payment for eligible county employees, a job training grants program to help unemployed workers, grants and loans to nonprofit groups in Fulton County, and health response, operational stability, community needs. And one of the things that got my attention initially when we were told what this money was going to be spent for was infrastructure that included broadband. There's no mention of that at all. So I have a concern. I don't know what $11 million means, what we're going to use it for, how we're going to move forward, if in fact we are with Fulton County, and just to approve authorizing to execute an agreement and paperwork related to this. I don't know what that means.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard, let me say this, and I'll get to Ms. Rao. When we got the reduction in the amount, we didn't know anything either, and nobody else did. I've talked to all of our federal legislators. I've talked to U.S. Conference of Mayors. I've talked to our governing bodies here in the region. Nobody has the answer, and everybody's trying to get me an answer for that. So right now, to be very transparent, nobody said anything to us. Secondly, there is a set amount that the state and the county is going to get for administration. That amount has been set. The great thing about the recovery money is that it's delivered straight to the municipality and not to the county. So we will have control over what we get. So I don't know where that other stuff come from, but that's exactly what happens. Ms. Rao, you can go ahead from there.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gilliard. You have a lot of the same questions I have. regarding this money, and I hope we'll continue to ask until we get an answer.
Absolutely.
Because that was a significant difference in what we were originally told.
Right.
In addition, we did ask, at the same time we asked about the money for the traffic, a plan for this money. And we do have a lot of needs, as Councilwoman Gilliard said, broadband and just a number of issues. We don't know with that 11 million, how that will be dispersed across the various needs. So I very much want to see that plan. I think it's important for us to convey that to the constituents. And so, yeah, I have the same concerns.
Okay, Ms. Jones, you wanna speak to that?
Sure, yes. Good afternoon again, everyone. Our $11 million was directly deposited into our bank account on yesterday. So all this agenda item is doing is accepting the money that was directly sent to us from the U.S. Department of Treasury. We are still working with GMA and NLC and also Congresswoman Akima Williams's office to get an explanation on why our amount was reduced. And let me be clear, hold on. We received our half of that 11 million. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but we received a half of that 11 million into our bank account yesterday. We will receive the other half in 1 year from now. It's our understanding we'll get that in May of 2022 for a total of $11.3 million. The staff and I are putting together a recommendation for you. You will have that just like we did for the CARES Act. Again, we were just kind of waiting to see if we were going to get the money. And again, in fact, that was deposited on yesterday. So I will be preparing a memo to provide for you and a recommendation on what we should use that for. I shared with you, I believe 2 weeks ago during the work session when I gave my update, that part of that money can be used to recoup any lost revenues that we have. So that's going to be probably number one. And then, of course, we'll be providing some other recommendations for use of the funds. But I assure you, our staff and I are working on a recommendation. We want to use this money, of course, wisely. I believe in being good stewards of that which has been given unto us. And so we will provide that information to you as soon as possible. We do have 4 years to spend this money. So, we're going to be laying it out in phases to you on how we should use it. And the money, Councilmember Gilliard, that you're referencing, I believe that's specifically money that goes to Fulton County. So that is totally separate from the money that we are directly getting from the U.S. Department of Treasury.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Willis.
I understand now.
Yes, Ms. Willis.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was talking and I was on mute. Thank you. First of all, before I make a motion, I want to say that $11 million is more than what it's money we didn't have and we didn't budget for. So I know that everybody disappointed that we didn't get the 30 million, but I also want you all keep talking about Congresswoman Nakima Williams, but David Scott has most of our district in the city of South Fulton. So if you all could please reach out to his office as well and ask him to work in collaboration with Congresswoman Williams, that would be great. The other point I want to make is that we need to make sure that we're not duplicating our efforts, because if Fulton County got funding, what I don't want to see is that they're talking about providing rental assistance and a lot of assistances. Fulton County is going to look at the entire county. maybe without the exception of Atlanta. And so I don't want us to duplicate our efforts. We need to really make sure we're working with our county commissioners to make sure that if they're allocating money towards a certain effort, that we're not also duplicating those efforts. And we're making sure that we're using our money wisely. I would like to make a motion for us to approve this measure, to allow the city manager to accept and negotiate the $11 million from the American Rescue funding that we received.
Is there a second? Properly
Second.
moved to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes, Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Dr. Baker?
Aye.
That motion is approved 6-0.
Next item.
Next item is executive session.
Mayor, I move that we go in executive session to discuss personnel and real estate. I don't know if we have any, do we have any legal matters?
Not that I know
Not,
of.
not legal, just
Okay,
personnel related.
all right.
Or, well, it could be personnel / legal.
Okay, well, I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate, just to make sure we're covered.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion?
Yes, discuss.
We take a break.
Yes, I was about to say, anybody want to take a break on discussion?
So can we convene at 7:30?
What time is it?
It's 7:24 now.
Something bad.
That's
We
only
have 10 minutes.
Is everybody all right with
10
that?
minutes, please.
So what time will we be back, Mr. Clerk?
7:35.
Okay, let's take a vote on the,
This is a motion by Councilmember Willis, second by Councilmember Rao to recess for executive session for personnel, real estate, and litigation. And the executive session will begin at 7:35.
okay.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid. Yes. Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
We are recessed at 7:26.
All right.